And howdy, folks. Welcome to Adventures in Alberon, our 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons campaign. I'm Joe, your Dungeon Master, and joining me, as always, are Matt, Miles, Ali, and Tina. And I am doing this from a new space, which is super exciting. And also, you can't tell because it's just a white sheet behind me, but there's new stuff behind there. It is a little bit different. I'm not really sure how I sound because I had a little computer difficulty, and I only got into Discord about 3 minutes ago. But we're going to work with it, and we'll see how it goes. Before we get into the actual Dungeons & Dragons, I do have a couple of announcements to make really quick. The first is that if you check out our website, www.alberonrpg.com, last week, up on the blog, we put up an entire write-up of the Festival of Fears, which is the Halloween analogy sort of holiday or analogous holiday within the world of Alberon. So check that out. There's a bunch of lore and a little bit about how the day's festivities transpire. Very much like Halloween, a little bit more violent, but otherwise pretty much the same. And there are like lore-based reasons that it exists. It's not just there for, to be Halloween, although a little bit it is. Also, we have a YouTube, which is now significantly easier to access. We are Alberon RPG on YouTube. There are playlists that are set up so you can see the entirety of our campaign from session 1 on here, but I think we'd already played like 16 or so or something like that. So everything that has ever been streamed from the first session of that to tonight is up on YouTube. When there is a session up, when we play on Friday, it will be up exactly 24 hours after that on Saturday. And then aside from that, I think that's kind of it. We do have a couple of cool things coming up next week. I know that the Wild Earth dice collection just shipped. I just got a notification about that. So you guys are all getting new sets of dice. Or we're all getting new sets of dice. Also, there is the new artwork for Morwen is coming out from Sophie. So that's going to be really cool. But that's coming up probably next week or maybe even the week after. We'll see. But with that, the only other announcement is that for music and sound effects and other things that I am not making, we have Sirenscape, which is a great digital tool set that allows you to play everything from the echoey sounds of a dimly lit dungeon to a bright and cheery tropical dungeon or tropical jungle with music like what you hear behind you. But it's a really cool tool set, and check it out for adding ambiance to all kinds of stuff. And with that, I believe we're through with our announcements and we can get back into our recap. So, let me just switch the music to something more appropriate. All right. Finger Gang, when we last played, all of you, except for you, Heinrich, obviously, awoke within the darkened, narrow tunnels of the rat tunnels created by the Shadow Scavs, a group of scavengers and smugglers, really, who served the purpose of allowing non-dwarves within the very dwarf-centric citadel of Koltaram to obtain various ingredients and smithing items that were otherwise restricted or difficult to get. Having spent some time there previously, meeting Virgil, the necklace dwarf, who, Heinrich, you engaged in a very nice conversation about the statue of his mother, beautiful as it was, from a certain perspective. You slowly made your way to the Undercity, the beautiful, expansive underground city that is developed beneath Koltaram. You immediately broke up, following the age-old tradition of the Finger Gang, and Heinrich, you and Shae made your way to the Gentle Repose. There, meeting Cinder, which is the name that you have for Cindariel, the pale, dark-suited elf who runs the Gentle Repose, this inn that you had rented rooms from and never returned the keys to. Upon meeting with her, she did tell you that the poltergeist or ghost activity within this place, this old Victorian house that has been transformed into an inn in the desolate district that surrounds the Pillar of Statues. You received a small patch, like a little ladder sort of sewn into it. Gunter, you recognized it as a patch belonging to a long-lost companion, Useful Scott, who you had not seen in over a century. You were unsure of what to make of all of this, but as you performed these acts, Gunter, you and Morwen went and got a beer. You got a couple of collective cups because you had some money that you really wanted to spend, and then you made your way to the first you made your way to return Helia's remains. After picking your way through the city and talking to a few people, you managed to track down Grunvar Coldrot, the person who had originally assigned you to rescue Helia, the daughter of Doldrum Coldrot. You met Doldrum for the first time, shrunken with age, this small form, but a huge personality, a sort of jutting jaw, and still salt and pepper hair, despite being Gunter at least 3 times your age. You told him of Helia's death in a very intense conversation that saw Gunter, you making perhaps the most important roles of the game. Persuading Doldrum, if not outright, that maybe peace is an option, at least to consider it a possibility.
It was deception, but okay.
It was,
Politics.
I like to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, it was deception.
It was deception, but using a little bit of diplomacy, one way or the other, you managed to convince him to, at the very least, give peace a shot. You were rewarded once Doldrum left from Grunvar and told to inquire after him at the Dark Hive should you find needs within the Undercity. You guys immediately went to the Dark Hive. No sooner had he and Doldrum left than you made your way to the pillar of stones hundreds of feet into the air that has been carved out and formed into what is more or less a massive gambling den. You met Yambo, the bugbear, who, a little slow in his words and actions, but quite smart, guided you through a speed run of the casino, as you knew Shae and Heinrich would not wait for you. Still, you managed to run about 45 minutes late, prompting Shae to leave Kol Taram and head out north to where you believed at the time, the Abletoe dog sleds to be waiting. Heinrich, you caught up a little bit after Shae, moving very quickly through the snow, this familiar terrain. Gunter, you and Morwen arrived sometime close to nightfall. Not in any normal way, of course. You decided, Gunter, to reach into your bag of tricks, pulling out a wild boar, a weasel, and then finally a gargantuan elk, this huge, almost moose-like creature that you then rode across the white tundra that had been unbroken by Shae, a single set of footprints left by Heinrich, and then just this beautiful serene landscape destroyed by this summoned giant elk named Timothy. Nevertheless, you all finally came back together amidst the dozens of dogs and one miniature horse of the Abletoe dog sleds. You met Sally, this old halfling woman with sandy hair, just leather and fur parka cinched tight around the face, with gray and white furs. And she very friendly welcomed you all, told you that since Nazara, this woman of Uriel's watch, had sent you and had helped so much, they were happy to assist you in getting back to Squall's End. She worked alongside this other very young halfling, Pine, who, Morwen, you are now aboard a dog sled with. But believe that brings us back to the present. And give me just one moment. So,
I just forgot how ridiculous last session.
The entrance. Yeah.
I mean,
It's
everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
I learned a fair amount.
Everything about last session.
Everything.
Good.
In this moment, all of you having kind of been assigned to dog sleds and having been given some instruction from Sally regarding their use, regarding the commands that you need to govern the sleds and get the dogs to do what you want to do. Shae, you are a natural with these dogs. Guntir, you too, having spent some time in the Nocturne Coliseum. This is not the right song. Having spent some time in the Nocturne Coliseum and utilizing chariots within the various events there, you found this to be fairly easy as well. Heinrich, you struggled a little bit more. For you, this act of kind of guiding a team of dogs, not the easiest. And so Sally decided that you would follow right along behind. So currently you have Sally Abletoe with these huskies all lined up in front of her, pulling a sled with things bundled on the back. Behind her, Heinrich, your sled is sort of slightly offset. Shae, you are behind that. Guntir, you are almost in the rear. And then behind you, Pine and Morwen in the final sled. Sally, this halfling, rises up, and you can see the sort of reins in her hand, lashes them out, and yells, "Yeah!" And you see this entire sled bolt. The slight slack fragments of leather just taut immediately, and the sled is off. Heinrich, you, without even saying anything, the dogs take off. You have to kind of hold on. Shae, same thing for you. However, you easily taking the reins into your command, you tighten them, and you can feel your team sort of stretching and then falling into this very natural pattern, and easily you pull up alongside Heinrich. Guntir, you get very, very close behind Shae. Morwen, you begin a little bit back, maybe 10, 20 feet back. You can see these huskies, and the dogs that you're on the sled with, a little bit bigger than some of the other ones. You would remember that Pine's team had the twin black huskies, Saloon and Shae. They are big dogs, and they don't seem to be putting forth any effort. But you do fall just a little bit behind. You guys begin to rush, the wind in your face. It is quite cold, but for you, Shae especially, this is a welcome return to the north after spending so long below the ground. And having this smoke and ash and soot constantly within your lungs. This is a welcome return to the north, a place that you call home. Guntir, as you open up that box and kind of pull out a piece of jerky very loudly, you there is a little bit of exhilaration. You are brought back in certain ways and certain times to your time in Nocturne, and other names and animals that haven't really come across the cobwebbed interior of your brain in some time do make their way forth. And at some point, I do need to send you a little bit of lore that I wrote over the last week pertaining to your time in Nocturne. You guys all begin to ride. Heinrich, as you are the furthest up, you and Sally are both going to be making perception checks, so go ahead and make one now. While you guys are riding, the first part of this journey... Oh, go ahead.
Well, is not able to take off and soar overhead this entire time. Can she keep up, or is it a little too fast?
Are you doing that?
I would ask if she, like, while doing this, I'd be like, can you keep up, or do you want to sit here?
When you say, can you keep up, you can see, when you say that the head is kind of pressed up against your neck, the feathers are flurrying a little bit in the wind, but the eyes open, and you can see the feathers ruffle, almost annoyed at the suggestion that she couldn't keep up. and kind of off and falls behind for just a second before soaring up next to you and looking out like 5 feet away. You can see Nod, and there is no lips, but you can almost swear there's a bit of a smile before up and off away. If you would like, make your perception check at advantage.
Yeah. So like as quickly as I can, because I'm still controlling a sled, I'm gonna switch eyes.
Okay, so yeah, just kind of.
Quick,
It's like you're.
out of the area, get the head, get the overcam basically of the track, and then I'll switch back.
It's like you're. Yeah, it's like you're. You know, kind of looking at your phone, looking up, looking at your phone, looking up.
Yeah.
Sure.
Distracted
Don't
driving.
do that
It's
while
great.
you're driving.
I just invented distracted driving in
Perfect.
Alberon. All
That's
right.
what we wanted.
So it's probably one of the more inane things we've invented compared to other stuff. So this
Don't
one.
text and drive.
Don't owl and drive. So the first one with advantage makes it a 15.
15. Okay. Over the course of the next, so the first leg of this journey, and Shae, you're a little bit unfamiliar with this particular part of the region. It's very easygoing. There isn't a lot of overhead cover, and so not necessarily a place that you would have traversed a lot. But as you guys begin to move, the sleds pull away and begin to go through these narrow valleys. The mountains kind of all around you in this very mountainous region have these large outcroppings of rock and stone with snow that cover parts of it that seem to jut out, and they form almost like these reaching arms, or in some places actually full arches that go over. And as you guys are progressing, at this point, it's like 8 in the morning. For the first time, you're seeing bits of sun burn through the clouds overhead. And you can see it hits the tops of these arches and just glistens brilliantly. As you guys go, I would say, Heinrich, you close your eyes, and in one of those moments, as you are synced in with Nod, the celestial owl that is your familiar, you can see that the sun is rising in a bluer sky than you've seen in probably about 2 weeks. And you can see, you can open your eyes for a second and look, and you could feel the sled banking and turning a bit of a corner. And you turn to look and see where Nod is. You see Nod disappear behind the trees, and you see just the faintest bit, a glint of sunlight from the golden dome of Colcheron as it disappears behind you. At times, you do need to move underneath these large boulders that seem to have nothing but snow suspending them above you, but probably an illusion. They don't rumble as you go by. While all this is happening, this is perhaps about a 3-hour portion of your trek before it begins to open out more. Is there anything that the rest of you are doing? Heinrich, you're keeping an eye on.
I think Gunter would be conserving his energy for the final push to beat Morwen.
Okay. And Gunter, you take a little bit of time and you look back, and Morwen and Pine now maybe like 40, 50 feet back.
Oh, they've got the same idea.
And you definitely get the sense, and you kind of look back, you see Pine almost 50 feet away, hard to make out the details, especially with your eyes, but you can just see this kind of, and Morwen, you can hear him under his breath just say, hi.
I'm gonna.
I'm just gonna say, hi.
Oh,
I'm
I was talking to Gunter, he's looking back at us.
I'm just gonna flip him off.
Oh.
I'm gonna turn around and be like,
He's blushing. This kind of chubby halfling is now just red.
Well, I'm not flipping him off.
I know. You know.
Oh, okay.
He's
I'm gonna eat shit! Fall off your sled!
Gunter, make an intimidation check. Why not?
With my freshly discovered
Oh,
dicey encounters.
there you go. Yeah, the plug. The dicey encounters with the Gunter dice.
All right, that is a. You said intimidation. That's a 15.
Yeah. Okay. With a 15, you shout out, and Morwen, you hear this especially because you're, there with Pine. You hear Gunter echo back through the snow and over the dogs and the rattling of leather and chains. You just hear "eat shit" just coming through the winter wind. That redness on Pine.
Fuck off your
darkens.
sled!
Gunter, you become aware of the fact, and you actually see, Pine's face darken. But Gunter, all of a sudden, you can see them a little bit better, and you realize they're gaining on you now a little bit. But about 3 hours pass, you can see the sun come up through the sky, and though the clouds are burning away and giving way to a beautiful yet crisp winter day, all of you would notice, and Shae, you've seen this before, there's a large portion of the sky where the clouds never seem to fade. And this is an unusually clear day for the north. And Shae, you know that, and this doesn't come as a surprise to you, but for the first time, all of you are seeing here and there, peeking out from the clouds, these beautiful, what look like almost edges of white structures. Shae, you would know that this is the ancient cloud giant city that was at one point suspended, a thriving metropolis during the First Age, dedicated to Mistra, the goddess of magic who had not yet died and through her death formed the Weave. You see just hints of these buildings, tall spires, some missing pieces, but they seem to be formed of this beautiful white marble or alabaster. And as you begin to draw closer, here and there you can see now almost ominous, but these floating stones, about 15 feet wide on a side, but still a ways off.
Are they stone cunningable stones?
At this distance, I mean, you can certainly try. You're on, you're in a dog sled, your eyes watering as you are like trying to go a little faster because now maybe 30 feet behind you, Pine and Morwen.
Yeah, but you forget that Gunter's got one eye that can do whatever it wants.
Neither eye does what Gunter wants.
Oh, true.
To be
Fair
very
point.
Free roaming.
Fair point.
But sure enough, if you would like, you can try. The DC is pretty high.
All right, I'm gonna come that stone.
Sure.
Do I recognize it as being normal?
Yes, you would recognize these as being elements of the giant step.
Got it.
Stone pathway or like suspended almost stairs of stone that at one point giants would climb to reach the city.
21.
21. Looks like rock.
Ah,
You
that's some
continue.
rock.
Heinrich, after about 3 hours, you get to a point where you clear all of a sudden these canyon-like regions. For a moment, there's ice kind of shelves that are going by you, and suddenly you're just on icy plains. And you can feel now, as you're moving, this is sort of like a sloping hill that rises and falls. Whereas before, your sled kind of stayed in these sort of ruts left by Sally's, you're noticing the snow is breaking in more jagged ways. This is much icier. And here and there, you could hear the rails to the side, and you feel the sled move back and forth. If you could go ahead and make an animal handling check, please.
All right. We all know how that went last time.
Great.
So well that
6.
Sally
A
said,
6.
you should probably ride behind me.
Yeah. So, remind me again. The dog sled that you were on, if I remember correctly, was headed up by the husky Dagger. Because I believe...
It was good. It was like the most autonomous dogs out of the bunch, basically.
Okay, you got the most
powerful,
autonomous.
The most like, just.
I know, yeah, okay. So, yeah, you have you don't have the miniature horse.
No.
Okay, good. So you have this moment of panic as this thing to the side in the ice, the sled moving, and you can hear the bits of cargo that are bundled behind you shifting and creaking. You don't steer into the skid, you steer away from it. You pull hard on the yoke, and two of the dogs in the front immediately attempt to cross into each other. There is a bonk, and you actually hear a yip as the two dogs kind of pile up. The two behind them skid into them. For the rest of you, you watch as all of Heinrich's dogs suddenly skid to a stop, crumpling into a literal dog pile. They're not hurt. You can see, one is like growling at the other one. You can hear this kind of, and like they're now. It's almost like an argument that's happening in the middle of a large pile. Heinrich, your sled skids around and passes this. And all of a sudden, I would say, especially you, Gunter, and you, Shae, your group's kind of coming in and having to split slightly. I need Gunter and Shae to make a animal handling check.
I'm gonna,
Way to go.
I don't know
a
why she's
21.
running
this-
behind her.
seeing this in front of me, I'm gonna be like, oh! Guidance.
Okay. As you jerk on the reins, there was this of energy as you cast guidance on yourself.
Nice. That is, oh wow. That's a 23.
23, okay.
21.
21. The two of you pull opposite sides of this yoke and you peel around Heinrich. You pull up even with Heinrich's sled as it is now going backwards, and both of you hear this yip yip as like the first two dogs get pulled along with it. Each of these dogs in turn, foof, foof, foof. And this entire sled with dogs attempting to go forwards is now going back. You skid for another 30 feet before your momentum stops kind of sideways in the ice. Sally has stopped maybe 40, 50 feet in front of you, having to like slow the momentum gradually. Gunter and Shae, do you stop or do you continue going?
I would stop.
Okay, so slowly you stop. No problem with
Oh
that check.
boy. I
Gunter?
think Gunter's gonna keep going, but slowing the pace to keep eyes on the people behind to make sure that
Okay.
he doesn't lose his way.
Okay, sure. So you just continue going. You pull back a little bit and
It's
the
a
dogs...
good opportunity to gain some ground.
Sure, Morwen, what are you doing? Are you doing
Well,
anything
so-
are you doing anything to influence Pine? Pine seems to be like slowing down as he approaches Heinrich.
No, he's fine. Keep going, keep going, keep going.
Make a persuasion check. You can see he looks up.
That is a 17.
Heinrich, you slide to a stop. The dogs all kind of groaning and yipping, and you see Shae kind of next to you. You can see Sally is now off the sled and walking towards you. You can see Gunter just it does slow a little bit, but he just continues to go. And as you kind of stop and are kind of like, well, that makes sense. Suddenly, by you, Morwen and Pine, and you can see Pine just behind you. Hear the end of "Getting the hang of," and just they're gone. Gunter, Pine and Morwen are fast approaching. So,
Also, when we pass Heinrich, I'm just gonna give him a look like, like when you see an accident on the highway in traffic, just like.
you just see this semi-concerned face from Morwen as past you. But the rest of you stopping, we're going to get back to Gunter and Morwen in a second. But Heinrich, Sally crunches through the snow. Are you okay?
Yeah. The dog's okay though, and I'm just gonna kind of get off and start checking them out because they took.
Oh,
I did.
the dogs will be okay. And you can see she kind of is going up and like brushing each one on the side. Oh, it's okay, Dagger. It's okay. Jeff, come over here. And she's just like pulling them up and kind of trying to get them set together. They don't seem to be hurt. You can actually see one or two of them seems to be pretty happy. But she gets the whole thing back in order. She pulls the reins up in one hand and she looks at you, and she kind of looks over and sees Morwen disappearing in the distance, the one driver that could have potentially switched out. And she says, well, Pine's right, you are getting the hang of it, but go a little slower next time, maybe. She pulls the reins out to you.
Sure.
This whole session is gonna be just
I just-
Heinrich rolling to.
I'll just take them back and I'll try
make
again.
these
I guess.
puppies go
Okay,
straight
no
line.
problem. So you now take up the end of this. You can see
I would wait
Sally
until he
waits
goes.
for you.
I'm gonna
Okay.
follow behind him.
So, at this moment, it is Gunter, Morwen, about 130 feet, and then Heinrich, Sally, who is going to go behind you now, and then Shae, you are now taking up the rear. So you set off again, although Guntir and Morwen, your progress never stopped. Speeding out ahead, Guntir, you in the lead. Go ahead and make a perception check.
Natural 20.
All right. So you emerge into what seems to be this, you can see like the large mountains looming all around you, and you're in this now much wider, almost like a valley, a very narrow valley. The mountains are wide, and so it is kind of hard to see how fast you're going at times, but here and there are these sort of copses of scraggly trees, and most of them covered in just like shells of ice. They've been frozen for a very long time. Here and there are boulders of ice, just pure ice, maybe 5 to 10 feet tall in places, that also have this almost permanent shell of snow. Guntir, you out here on your own, unfamiliar with the sort of environment, go ahead and make a survival check for me.
Another natural 20!
No problem. Okay.
Wicked alive.
As you like are going through,
Dicey
smiling,
encounters,
laughing, you look behind you. You know Morwen is catching up, but there is a moment where, as you look back, the snow, something about it just looks wrong. You can see an area where the texture is off, a little bit darker. It seems to have almost kind of slowly sloped and packed in, and you wisely guide the sled around it. As you do, you can kind of look and you can see it's as if the snow has fallen across, but you would imagine there is a fairly deep, if not a chasm, then like a pit within it. But you pass it, no problem, on your left. Are you marking it out for Morwen at all?
No.
Okay. Morwen, go ahead and make a perception check as you and Pine are catching up.
Natural 20!
Oh, wow.
You can see Pine.
What's happening?
You can see Pine is kind of
The
like
race
shaking
is
his
on!
head. His head kind of pulled into this huge hood in the parka, and you can even hear under his breath, he's just like, "Oh, I hope Heinrich's okay." And as you do that, you can see he's a little distracted, and you see in front of him this sort of drift of snow. You would imagine probably something to avoid. Pine does not seem to see it.
I'll point it out.
Okay.
Time! Drift of snow!
Oh, and he pulls it, and as he does, the dogs almost as one shift and move around it, and no problem, he clears, but he does fall a little bit more behind Guntir. Barely, as you guys are keeping pretty good pace. You guys are going pretty quick, and I would say if there is a moment that you look behind you, Morwen, it takes you a second to catch sight of the rest of your group. They are slowly falling behind, but no problem. You guys progress. You continue along this area, and you can hear the entire way the rails on these sleds skidding along what is now almost hardened ice. Another 3 or 4 hours pass. You guys are drawing close to about 5 p.m. This beautiful blue sky on this entire day is beginning now to shift into the slightly darker shades of blue on the horizon and purple. Shae, you know night is coming in about an hour and a half. All of you now, I would say Shae, Heinrich, the two of you, along with Sally, are almost now, because of the wideness of the space, able to be like 3 sleds abreast. And so very easy for you guys to be relatively even and communicate. Sally is going to attempt in shouting over the wind, "Hey, Heinrich!"
I'll just message back.
Heinrich!
I'm gonna message back and be like, it's a lot easier this way, just think it at me.
Oh, that's wonderful. Hi, Heinrich. So we're coming up to a point where it's about to get quite dark. Can you still hear me?
Yep. And I
Okay.
just keep pinging it after whatever, however many words or length of time it is.
This is quite wonderful. We're getting to a point now where the terrain is going to become quite a bit more dangerous. It might be good to find a place to rest for the evening.
Okay, what about our friends? Do you know where Pine would stop?
Probably up ahead, as long as nobody is forcing him to go further. But in about 10 minutes, there should be an area that we can pull off to the side where it will provide a little bit of shelter. There is not a proper mountain like the ones that you're coming from, but a bit of an incline that we could take shelter against should it snow.
That seems wise, and if they're not there, we'll go looking for them. You can just stay and tend the camp.
Oh, wonderful. And then you can see it pulls just a little bit further ahead, and you fall into this sort of pattern of moving along behind her. And within 10 minutes, no problem, you arrive at this copse of woods. Morwen, as you and Guntir are racing, there is a moment where you can see and almost feel Pine tense up a little bit, and you see his eyes kind of track this bit of wood as he goes by. And he turns to you, this big fur parka. Do you think Guntir will know when to stop?
No.
Well, we're kind of passing where we should stop.
Well, maybe we should, hurry up and tell him.
Okay. And you see he just lashes, and all of a sudden, for the very first time, these dogs have been walking at a brisk trot. They break into a run. The two huskies in the front, Saloon and Shae, these massive black dogs, they seem to almost be pulling the entire sled and the other dogs with them. Guntir, you look behind you, and you see like snow coated across the snouts and the black dark fur on the face, but these two huge dogs are like gaining on you rapidly.
Yeah.
You speed up a little bit. It's you're going to be overtaken. Mormon, all of a sudden, I mean, this acceleration is sudden to the point where were you not a rogue, you probably would have to make a dexterity check for this. But you grab onto the sides. You feel the cold air sting your eyes as you go. It is getting a little bit darker, and so that does help. You don't have to squint against the glare off the snow anymore, but you are tearing across. When you were taken by the wyvern, similar speed. This is fast.
Well, this feels more fun than that. So, it feels a little safer.
Yeah, you still feel the slide every now and then, but you can tell Pine's done this before, and as he moves, there are areas where the hills of snow force Guntir to travel around, where Pine takes such an angle that the sled actually almost seems to drift around it. He loses no speed in these corners, and Guntir, within about 10 minutes, your lead is demolished, unless there is something that you're going to do to intercede.
I think as they get closer, I'm going to use thaumaturgy to cause harmless tremors in the ground for a minute to see if that slows them down.
Okay.
Well, wait, are we like caught up to him?
You guys are, so if you want to do this, then Guntir, they need to get to within about 60 feet of you, which is not hard. I would say given the speed, when they get to about 40 feet within where you are, you could cast it and do that. So are you doing that?
Yeah, and I'm simultaneously using thaumaturgy to say, "Eat shit! Fall off your sled!" again.
Okay. Give me just 1 second here.
Who's just kidnapping these dogs is actually what's happening.
So you hear, all of you hear, in this quiet, beautiful, snowy northern environment, with Sally. Now you guys have just sort of reached this place. Sally's like stopped the dog. She's kind of unpacking things and saying, well, you can see the sleds, they've gone that way, so if you want to and you just hear echo through the air, eat shit, in Guntir's voice. It rebounds off the mountains like a yodeler. You'd imagine you are not hidden from anything in this region. Guntir, as you say that, your voice kind of almost seems to die within your throat because you see off to the side, maybe thousands of feet away, but the top of a mountain illuminated by the sun setting behind it. You see maybe 100-foot patch, microscopic from where it is to your vision, but just on a far off mountain, and begin to crumble down. You are aware that probably the silence is more than golden in this environment.
We were only warned about that earlier. It's
Yeah,
fine.
no big deal.
Pine and
Out
his
of that
sled rush alongside you, and you can see that Pine has to slow the dogs to pull up alongside you. But from across, he waves and goes, hi. You should turn back and go stop with the others.
Yeah, that's what you'd want me to do. I'm
Uh,
winning this race.
I'm gonna shout out.
Okay.
Can I shout out to Pine to It's gonna. Well, we don't
What
have like a destination to where we're racing to, so I'm gonna tell him to go back to the spot because I'm gonna just determine that's the spot that we have to beat Gunter to.
Pine turns to you, and the sled's already kind of banking slightly, but he just says, I know, Gunter, try not to hit the ice before dark. And the sled banks off and seems to almost veer between two trees, and to you, Gunter disappears.
If
Uh,
there's like a little tail end where he sees me, it's not full moon, but it's cat butt just sticking in the air.
Okay, so from all of the furs and the warm weather gear and the
At
heavy,
least
heavy
tail,
leathers,
you know?
just the tail sticking out.
I
Sure.
think when they pass me, I would start following them because I can't let them overtake me. I gotta get them
Okay.
again.
Gunter, make an animal handling check.
Oh my gosh. Fantastic. That's a 21.
Okay, no problem. You pull it. You're like, oh, I can't let them beat me. And you pull. You can see the dogs a little bit confused again, but they turn. Your loop a little bit wider. You need a little bit more space to make this maneuver, but no problem. You turn back. Morwen, you arrive a good 2 or 3 minutes before Gunter does to this camp that Sally has already begun kind of setting up.
Okay, I give Pine 5 pieces of gold as
He
agreed
pulls
upon.
this and stops, and as he turns, you give him 5 pieces of gold. He nods to you. Thanks.
Good work.
I think so. And he tucks it away. He gets off and begins to help Sally. Gunter, you pull in finally last of all.
I'm gonna just arrange myself in a position that looks like I've been waiting forever. Like I'm super bored.
Okay. So you quickly scramble to that position and manage to beat Gunter. Gunter, you pull up. You see Morwen on this very hastily erected kind of like a almost. You could see it was probably meant to resemble a couch, maybe, of snow, and just kind of reclined in a position waiting for you.
Ugh, took you long enough. Thought you'd never
Ah.
make it.
This is just the first leg.
Uh-huh.
Is this like the Tour de France all of a sudden?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Because see, Pine takes the golden furs off. So you, you guys begin to kind of set up camp. You can see on some of the sleds there are boxes and bundles, and as the camp begins to be assembled, you can tell now on the back of Sally's sled, it seems to be primarily food that is being stored. On Pine's, food and water. Heinrich, on the back of yours, nothing is really unloaded, but looking at some of the stuff, you can see probably various medical supplies and oil, like lantern oil. Shae, the sort of team that you command, is the one that is most heavily taken off. It is the sleeping bags, the tents. You can see lots of rope and lines, just climbing gear that's left aboard. And then Gunter, you realize one of the reasons that your sled may be a little bit slower than Pine's, the majority of your cargo is water, which is pretty heavy.
But now that I know that it's water,
What?
Do with that what you wish.
What does that mean?
We're not gonna have any water to drink. That's what that means.
you'll find
That's
out.
probably what that means. As the sun sets, you are all treated to, for the very first time since you've been traveling here, a beautiful northern night sky. This is not like skies that you're used to, even, Heinrich. This is massive in its scale. Aside from the mountains, there are no buildings or trees to really impede what is a brilliant display. You can see, what's your passive perception?
12.
12. Looking up, you're not necessarily
Respectable.
you're not you're not necessarily aware of specific constellations, but this is absolutely beautiful. You can see the moon rising gently in the sky. You can see ominous, but this blue, bright pinpoint of light that represents Aurelian star. But aside from that, I mean, it is absolutely beautiful. Is there anything that you guys wish to do before bedding down for the night? Pine takes out some of the stew that he made, which is still warm.
I don't think so. I mean, I have my like all-night reading to do, learning Elvish, but
Sure.
I'm gonna make a little mini snow structure of like the third, second, and first place stairs and put me on top. And Gunter just
Okay.
on the bottom. Like
Make
not on
it-
the stairs at all.
Sure. Make a sleight of hand check.
Or you know what? He'll go on second and Heinrich's gonna be on the
Fair enough. That would make sense. Shae didn't even place.
Oh, now I
Did
feel
not
bad.
participate.
Well,
Yep, clearly didn't.
27.
I don't think anyone else besides the two of you was participating.
As you guys, go about your nightly business, you set up camp, you socialize, you eat. You pass Morwen, who is deeply engaged in this creative pursuit. First, you see this little platform up here, fairly simple but perfectly flat. Where when you take some time to take elements of like wood that has been brought, these planks, to like perfectly flatten these individual steps. And then you take a good amount of time and take small bits of plant life and rocks and elements that you have with you to create these tiny little snow people. Up on the first place, you can see Morwen with these dark fur needles that have been inserted to look almost like bits of fur. You could see on the tier just a little bit below this short sort of, somehow you managed to get it like stooped over a little bit, this Gunter with the snow white beard. You could see there's a fairly simple little frowny face that has been put into the face. And then Heinrich on the very bottom, two little twigs forming the antlers. But it's very detailed and very easy to see who these individuals are. Anybody else doing anything over
I
the
see
course
that
of
and I
this?
chuckle and I laugh. Like
Sensible chuckle.
that's funny.
I'm gonna give my dogs a pep talk for the next leg of the race.
Okay, make an animal handling check. What are you
Right.
saying to your dogs?
Like, all right, that was a good run, but we gotta go faster, even faster.
Peppy.
Great laptop.
Natural 20.
Fucking hell!
So
Wasting
Gunter,
them all on
you,
this shit.
I know, right? This is the third one. You
It's this-
walk out a little bit away from the camp and get your dogs all in a row. You begin to talk to them. You mention them each by name. You say, You say Salmon, Bigsby, Beady Petey, Hellcrow, T-Bone. This is what we need to do. And these dogs, they listen to you. I mean, you can see the largest one, this Laika, which I think it's pronounced Laika. Laika. This huge dog, the largest one on your team, just kind of turn its head and the ears flop over. And as you express that you need to go quicker, you could see there is an excitement amongst your team, and you feel that perhaps you have, for whatever it is worth, roused the you've pepped them. You've appropriately pepped your dogs.
Nice.
We'll see what that does tomorrow.
You don't even know where you're going.
It's not about the destination.
Just about
about
getting there
winning.
first.
There is a point, I would say, over the course of the night where Morwen Pine would say to you, like while you guys are eating, so what are the rules to this race?
Just like don't die, don't get anyone hurt, and be the first one there, wherever there is. Where is there tomorrow?
Well, we're going to Squall's End, right? So
Yeah.
we're gonna get you to the base of Mount Yishi, and the dogs can't really make it up past that, but
Yeah. So you just gotta get to the base first.
okay, we could do
That's
that.
alright. I won't be mad at you if we lose. I'll just be really disappointed.
Oh, well,
It's okay.
we won't lose. It's okay. I wouldn't want that. Okay, and you can see he seems to consider this. I would say for anybody who is paying attention to Pine, there is a point where he, similar to Gunter, you can see he takes the dogs off and away from the camp, and it's a very quiet conversation that happens, but it happens. Anybody else doing anything over the course of this evening?
I'd help clean up and then find myself a tree.
Okay, no problem. You help clean up a little bit. It's not a lot to clean up. It is just kind of, it's this stew that literally warms itself. It has the burn bright blossoms in it, so very, very simple. You find a tree and climb, and you come to rest in a place that you feel at home. And it is really nice. As you lie in the tree, you can hear the wood creak in the wind, and you can hear softly these small bits of snow kind of fall from the branches at night. It's very nice. Anybody else?
Want to talk to Sally and see just the layout of the heading tomorrow. Should we get split up or anything? Just kind of go over her direction.
Wise idea. You find her up at the campfire a little bit after you guys eat. And she looks at you and smiles, the crow's feet just deepening. Oh, hi, Heinrich.
Hey, Sally. How are you? Thanks for the help back there.
Oh, it's not working. Oh, it's okay. I'm
Oh.
happy to help people who are
did you-
new.
Most people get really off put by that, but we could do that if you'd like.
I've just
Well,
never
let's
seen
do
it
it
before, and it was useful on the sled, but I do like talking. It's what I'm used to, and it's hard to tell when it works and when it doesn't. I don't really feel it. But,
Right.
did you need something?
Well, I was just kind of hoping to get a heading on what our direction will be tomorrow. Worst case scenario, should we get split up? I know that the north's kind of dangerous, and should worst come to worst, I'd rather at least know how to make it there if I get separated. Because
Oh.
you saw I'm not that great at handling these things.
This is very true, Heinrich. I'm sorry, but that was difficult to watch. I'm going to talk to Morwen about maybe taking over on that, and you could ride with Pine. I think he would appreciate a little bit less intense company. Well, tomorrow, the biggest obstacle that we'll find will come to a point where it drops away into a large field of ice. It's a steep incline, perhaps 65 degrees.
Jeez.
It is a 700-foot drop, although it is not a drop. It is a slope, although quite steep, as I said, and you need to go as quick as you can down it in order to preserve your momentum to get across the ice. You don't want to stop on the ice. It is quite dangerous. If you do stop, then you want to run, but you want to make as little noise as possible. And if you do have any ways, I do know that you are quite magical, but if you have a way of making yourself silent or not causing vibrations on the ice, that would be good.
Ironically, that power only belongs to the loudest one of our group.
Gunter?
Unfortunately.
Huh. Well, that is ironic. But don't get stuck on the ice.
Right.
The dogs know what to do, so you just need to make sure that you have enough momentum when you get to the edge.
Okay. And then after that, is it a straight shot, or is there any more complications to get?
Oh, there's nothing such. There is nothing
Of the sort?
of the sort. Jeez, it's been a long day,
It's
guys.
fine. Yeah. Well, I'm stretching at the end.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. I'm still kind of stressed. I really hope I don't have COVID.
So
There is no such thing as a straight, easy path here in the north, but there should be no major obstacles aside from that, unless we run into any yeti, or more recently, wyverns.
okay. And traveling out in the open doesn't attract their attention, or is this not a path you go by very often?
Oh, no, they hunt at night. So as long as
Ah.
we go after first
Okay,
light, we should be
good.
okay.
It's wise we stopped here.
Yes. This is not exactly Yeti territory. They're typically a little further east, but we are living in strange times, and
Mhm.
with the things that have awoken, who knows what has been stirred up. So over the course of the night, we should establish a watch. I'm going to go first, and then Pine will be able to go next. But if
I got
somebody
it.
from your group,
No,
nobody can stay up the entire night. But it is nice of you to offer, Heinrich.
I got it.
Well,
Trust me.
if you can do the last watch, I'll have Pine wake you.
Okay, sure. I'll go for. You know what? Just you guys get rest, and when you wake up, if you feel the need, you can come find me. But I'll be fine.
Make a persuasion check.
I'm rolling like shit. 7. Probably the second lowest roll I could do.
I appreciate the offer, Heinrich, but the Abletoe Dogsleds have existed for a long time here because we've done things a certain way. So, well, I'll have Pine wake you up. Not to worry.
You don't. Okay. I'll be up too. Just don't worry about it.
We'll try to get some rest before the
Okay, we can
beginning
move on
of
to the
tomorrow.
next. It's okay. So the next
No
part
problem.
being, once we get across, right? Could you give me some semblance of an idea of like the heading towards Mount Ishi?
Yes, we'll be traveling almost due northeast, a little bit closer to the north side, and you've been there before. You're traveling with a Zinyi monk, so it's when you see Mount Ishi, we'll be approaching it. It's part of the Alumhare mountain range, and so it's difficult to miss. They're the largest in Dominion.
Right.
Well, aside from the largest, I think, probably in the north, anyways.
But no more tricks aside from the ice field, ice plains.
Not unless you would like to take a detour through the Bone Meadow, but that's a terrifying place, and I would prefer not to do it.
Yeah, no, we don't want to go back there.
You've been to the Bone Meadow.
Yeah, that was our path to Colterom.
You can see, she gets a little bit paler, but she looks around and seems to almost huddle together for warmth against this cold and very dark all of a sudden night. But she leans in and she says, "Is it true that ghosts walk amongst the piles of stones there?"
Ghosts in the loose sense of a folk tale, sure.
Well, all
Things that you
folktales
don't
are
want
based
to-
on things.
Yeah. Not literally incorporeal beings that you can stick your hand through, let's just put it that way. Except we did meet Millie Wenslow there, which is kind of weird now that I think about it. He's still alive, as far as everyone knows, right? Do you know who that is?
I'm sorry, is it a politician or a...
No, he's just a folk singer. He seems to think that everyone knows who he is. When we didn't know who he was a little offended. And you said ghosts, and now I'm kind of thinking, but he seemed real enough to me.
I hope so, but I am a believer in ghosts. I'm disappointed that they are not in the boneyard, or the bone meadow. But I wasn't going to go anyways.
I'd advise against it.
Well, not to worry. We'll just take the straight path then. But beneath the ice, big things do live. So again, quiet is good.
Yeah. Do you have any sort of like dwarf-shaped muzzle of some kind?
Oh, well, for Gunter because he's loud. We just have like a normal kind of muzzle, but if you are serious about placing it on your friend, you could maybe modify it. It seems
No,
unkind.
I think I'll just leave it on his sled as a reminder.
Well, on the back of the cart that Shae rode on, there are a number of extra muzzles and additional riding gear should it be needed.
Okay.
But as much as quiet is desired, I would imagine it would cause some contention to muzzle your dwarf friend.
Yeah, it would.
Speaking as one of the smaller folk myself, we don't tend to take kindly to being trapped in such a way.
Sure. And anyways, aside from all of that, I think if you're tired, you can get some rest. I'll take first watch, I suppose. Just as long as you get as much sleep as you can, because you seem to be the most important member of this traversing group here.
She stands up, and you can actually hear her hip pop a little bit as she does. And she stretches out a little bit at her full, 3 feet high. Well, you're not wrong about that. Have a good night, then, Heinrich, and wake me when it's my turn. And she kind of wanders off towards the small tent that she has erected for herself. Everybody else goes to sleep.
Where are you guys sleeping?
Are you gammon?
Oh yeah, I think I would probably gam it up. But yeah, I'm gonna be like, gam! And then when Morwen goes in, I'll be like, you go on ahead, I'll be in a minute.
So you say, gam, and this huge corrugated iron cube unfolds itself and settles into the space. The snow kind of just disperses around it in this abrupt. The gam cube is there. Door is open.
Go on in. I'll be in a minute. I gotta go feed the dogs.
Okay.
Ah.
I'll go in, but this is suspicious.
Okay, Morwen, you open the door and step in. Your footsteps hollow and echoing in this empty, other than a chair, space.
I feel bad for beating him, and now I feel like I'm in trouble. So I'm just gonna find whatever's in my bag to put up decor.
Okay.
Find like a dirty rag and pin it like a tapestry, like a poster.
Okay, so you just go through your stuff and you pull out just some dirty stuff and you begin hanging it up.
The nicest dirty stuff.
Okay, sure. Yeah, you don't have to roll anything for it. You're college dormant in the wall.
Yep.
Gunter, are you doing anything?
I'm gonna go check out their sled and see if there's any way that I could potentially non-lethally sabotage it.
Make an investigation check.
You're gonna kill someone.
maybe just loosen some of the reins or something.
Oh my god. So evil.
That's 15.
Okay. You get up and you sneak away quietly through the snow as much as you can. You get up to the sled. You can see it has these long metal rails on either side. There is one that you didn't notice. It's shorter in the middle that seems to provide some amount of stability. And you would imagine, in particularly icy terrain, it seems sharper. It would anchor you a bit better. You would imagine, given the description of the terrain, you could probably sabotage that middle rail and create a bit of a steering issue. You could loosen any of the rails. You look at the elements that would be stood upon, and you could perhaps sabotage the wood itself to come apart. It's joined through a method that you're.
Kill them.
What are you trying to do with the
I don't think there's a way
sled?
to unsafetyify a sled that wouldn't kill someone
I
in this
just want to
terrain.
make it so that they have to slow down to fix it or something.
I mean, again, if one of the rails
flat
fell off,
tire kind of situation, but
you could loosen the bolts that hold the rails to the actual sled, and they would eventually fall off.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead and make a dexterity check.
Ooh, that's a. That's a. Which one? Oh, that's a 15. The
Okay.
15 worn off. Okay.
Gunter, you huddle over, and in the darkness, you spend a little time using the elements of your knowledge that come from a lifetime of having You've done some repair work in your life, and you do the opposite. You unrepair the sled. We'll see what happens. You walk back to the camp. I would say, because you are staying awake for the whole night and on guard, Heinrich, you see Gunter wander off into the dark for about 15 minutes and come back. What your passive is 12, correct?
Yeah, but not.
Do I notice Heinrich noticing me?
Probably not.
Yeah, creepy Heinrich just watching everyone.
I feel like Nod would be on first watch anyways, and would just take off and like get a look around the surrounding situation. Just like,
yeah, and so you
scope
very
up the mountain,
easily
down to the plain, see if there's any other answers.
Easily, you see Gunter go kneel down over Pine's sled and do something.
I'm gonna have Nod land on a branch and hoot softly while staring at Gunter while he's doing this.
So Gunter, you're unloosening this bolt, and at the last second, you're about to turn, and you hear from behind you this whoo, and you look up. You see silhouetted against the moon this dark oval shape that is Nod the owl, and as the eyes open, you see just a hint of this emerald glow that emanates.
Heinrich, are you watching me? I'm taking a shit!
You see, and he is kind of squatted down, but you can see very clearly holding some kind of a tool for not easy to see.
I'm gonna go back to the GameCube when I'm done.
Okay. You see Gunter take another minute or two there, then trudge back.
Do we all just hear Gunter be like, I'm taking a shit?
It does. No! In the cube, you do not hear it. However, Shae, there's a moment in your sleep where you wake up, your eyes shoot open, and you hear it just echo through the air.
Shit.
Yeah, for sure. So you do this. You head back. You return to the GameCube. Gunter, you open the GameCube in Morwen. What does he see? What have you done to this?
I'd say there's just like maybe on one wall, there's just like, I don't know, a bunch of dirty rags looking like they're trying to be posters.
It looks like a child's like safety blanket that they kept with them for years and years and years has just been like tacked into the metal of this wall. Even as you open the door, the left side of it like bing and then onto the ground, and the whole thing just kind of like falls down. It's not like a cape hanging down.
Look, decor. Thought we'd brighten the place up a little bit. Do you like it?
Yeah, I like what you've done with the place. Really, really tasteful.
Thanks. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah.
Right. I can go to sleep now.
Alright.
I'm passing out.
And so, sure. So you kind of pile up your warm weather gear and you create a little bit of a bed, and the two of you go to sleep without issue. Heinrich,
yes.
An hour goes by, and
The
you.
sled.
Okay.
Seeing what Gunter is doing, knowing he's never up to anything good.
Make an investigation check.
All right.
Except when I'm stopping civil wars.
I wasn't there for that. Didn't happen. Didn't see it.
Deception, as you noted.
It happened.
All right.
Your way to
So
peace.
this is investigation.
Yep.
17.
Gunter, when you walk away, Nod remains. And from this kind of almost like a time-lapse movie, you would see, the wind going and Nod just bobbing slightly on the branch quickly. And then as Gunter fades, maybe 20, 30 minutes later, Heinrich appears and Nod down and lands on your shoulder. You approach, you almost feel Nod's eyes direct your gaze. You look down, you can see very clearly, because the elements of ice that had built up over the course of the journey, Gunter had to like pry away to get at the actual mechanisms here. You can see this gleaming bolt that has been almost entirely taken off. You look at it, you'd imagine probably pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
Should the rail come off and the driver fall off, the rail could go over somebody's arm. Like it's not really so much a prank as it is like cutting somebody's brake line.
Yeah, it's basically trying to kill someone. This is how you assassinate someone.
And given Sally's description, it's not in a place that is like a safe place to do it.
No,
So
yeah, if you stop there, you drown.
suddenly in the darkness, from behind, you can hear, because he's not terribly quiet, sort of pine crunching through the snow.
He's gonna think you.
He gets to within like 30 feet of you.
I'm gonna wave him over.
He stops and just goes, "Oh,
No,
sorry,
no.
I didn't know you'd be here.
It's okay, come check this out.
Just be careful. I think Gunter did something to my sled."
Oh,
And he's
that's
like
what I
walks
was going
over.
to point out to you. I think you your sled, and I'll just identify it directly.
Oh, that's pretty dangerous, but
That's kind of what I was thinking with the ice field up next.
begins to kind of work on it. What's wrong with Gunter and Morwen?
Morwen is 4 years old, or so she says, and Gunter is 287 years old. Just as a starting point.
I didn't know how to ask this, but what is Morwen?
None of your damn
She's-
business. No, I'm
She's
just
a
kidding.
tabaxi. She's more used to being on the sea with rough and rowdy type.
Oh,
That's
I've
sort
never
of.
been on a boat, but
I'd say it's not too well. It's pretty dissimilar to this. Although the wind behaves a little wildly, like dogs can, I guess, and you can direct them in the same way. But my knowledge is pretty much just from living in a port city my entire life. I've never really been much of a sailor either.
that analogy seems like you're grasping at straws.
Yeah, I'm trying.
But I'm gonna fix this. I may have. Morwen seems to really want to be the first there, so.
As long as you can get her there safely, but
Oh, I can.
yeah, that's fine. As long as that's it, yeah. Her life is in your hands coming up, so please do.
Okay. And
I
he
feel like-
smiles and finishes up what he's doing.
Yeah, faster is safer on this next little leg of the journey, it seems, so.
He packs up his tools and he stops and he has this one kind of strange little smile, and he nods to you and says, "Well, good night, Heinrich."
Alright.
Heads
See you in the
back
morning.
to camp. You become aware as he walks back towards the camp.
Mhm.
That is not the direction that you saw him coming from.
Okay.
Mm.
Can I
And you can look and,
backtrack?
yeah, you can see his footprints in the snow. He's not a small, for a halfling, he's pretty portly. So you follow the tracks back, and they lead to Gunter's sled.
Uh-huh. Alright.
And you looking at it, I'll say without
Signs
even
of-
rolling. Yeah, because Pine is not, he's not naturally a deceptive person.
Yeah.
There are two perfectly clear, not footprint shaped, but sized to be about the area that a footprint would go on.
Uh-huh.
Perfectly clean from snow and ice.
What do you mean two footprints? That's just it?
So it looks like almost on the top of the sled, the ice and the grime that had been caked on from the travel have been cleared away, and two like foot-long skids. You look down, you just see wood beneath it, but
Can I mean, start with detect magic, I guess.
okay. You cast detect magic, and as you do, as this rune kind of ignites in your eye, and you can suddenly see there is magic coming off of the faint. It's almost as if somebody. So it's unpleasant in a way because you turn it on, and for a moment, it's like you turned a black light on in a teenager's room. There are these two smears of bright, what look like some kind of
Grease?
a gunk almost. Yeah, grease maybe. But as you get closer, you realize that there is a component, the smell, that is not. It smells like adhesive.
Okay. Find a stick and just like poke it, see if it adheres.
You go over, you find a fallen pine branch, and you poke it, and as you pull it back, the whole sled seems to kind of come a little bit with your hand across the ice.
Mhm.
You pull again, it's stuck.
Okay. I don't have like a dispel magic thing.
Oh damn! Sounds like Pine's trying to kill you now.
So
Yeah.
I guess what I'll just do is
Harmless.
I think I'll just like get as many pine. I'm assuming the trees around here are like pine needles, kind of.
Make a nature check.
Okay. Well, is it needles or leaves? Because I feel like that's just like
They're
looking
needles.
with my eyeballs.
Just looking with your eyeballs, you can see that they're needles.
Okay,
of
that's
various
all.
kinds.
I want to get a bunch of branches and just like strip them of the needles and like put them on the glue so that Gunter doesn't get stuck on it.
Okay.
If that makes
yeah.
sense, right?
You don't even need to roll for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You pull bits of greenery away. It's like frozen. The water within the actual plants itself is frozen, and so they're stiff.
Mhm.
There are actually elements where you would imagine where you're not wearing gloves.
Mhm.
These things could actually probably pierce your hands like needles, given enough pressure.
Okay.
But you spread them across, and as you pull them away, like bits rip away and they stay. And you're aware of the fact that if you tap it down and then rip cord it away, those needles still stay.
I'm making them flat. I'm not making like
Yeah,
beyond
flatten
the
it down.
floorboard kind of thing.
For him to
I'm making his
step on.
trap worse.
Get
over the
stuck and
course
pierced.
over the course of doing this, given your way of handling things, you become aware of the fact that once you apply one of these pine needles down, there's one that comes up and it comes at a weird angle, so you try to pull it away. Nothing that you do separates the needle from the actual thing. You have to break part of it away to leave just a little nub.
Mhm.
But it's whatever this glue is, it's certainly enchanted vaguely.
Yeah.
It's not a strong magic, but it's strong.
Yeah.
You have no doubt that it would hold Gunter to the sled.
Okay. So that's what I'll do. I'll just make sure that no steppable point. Like I'm just gonna carpet it completely so that Gunter can't accidentally step on it.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna go over to I'm not gonna waste any time. I'm just gonna go right over to Pine.
Okay. You go
Find out
over.
where
You
he
can
went.
see Pine is he's like almost back at the camp at this point. He's kind of just poking the embers a little bit and getting them back to a place where they come up with a little bit more heat before he seems to be going back to bed. You
Mhm.
catch him there.
Yeah. Hey Pine, just a minute, real quick. You free?
Sure.
So, as the attempting moral compass and very bad at it at best, but of the group, I usually watch Gunter for when he does stupid things like what he just tried to do to your sled. But I noticed, just gonna come right out at you. Why did you do something to his sled, just out of curiosity?
Oh, well, looks over and you can see his eyes go to the gam cube, which is catching just flickers of the embers. You promise you won't tell her that I told you?
Well, sure.
Morwen paid me to beat Gunter in a race,
Mm-hmm.
but I noticed that Gunter's pretty crafty, so I was going to glue him to the sled and then throw food for his dogs, so it took him longer to get there.
Yeah. Okay. Again, though,
Such an
this
adorable
this
prank.
this area seems a little too dangerous for even pranks like that. You know, what if you throw the food and the dog's like cut a sharp angle, then he flips while he's still attached to the sled, you know, the ice fields or something. Just
Well, they're good dogs. Just because Gunter doesn't know how to use them doesn't mean they would be bad.
well, to that point as well. If he doesn't know how to use them, then you're sure to beat him without cheating, and that victory would be even more rewarding, wouldn't it?
Well, I think I get the gold either way.
Yeah, you would.
So I just kind of want to be sure, because 5 gold is a lot of money.
Yeah, look, if you don't win, I'll pay the gold that Morin promised you if she doesn't. Just don't.
You don't even
No
need a
funny
roll
business.
for this. You can see him, like, he's actively scheming. It is not malicious,
Yeah.
but he's realizing that Morwen already paid him. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know that, to be fair.
You see just a big
He told
smile.
you.
No,
No.
that you would pay.
Oh.
So,
Big smile. He seems pretty happy with that prospect.
well, look, and regardless, you guys are helping us out anyways, so it's appreciated nonetheless.
Well, it's what we do. We help everybody in the north. Usually we charge money, but
Well, here's money.
watch
That's
lady.
it.
Yes, but the watch lady helped so many people and helped us too. So it's the least we could do. And I've never been to that part of the north.
Well, you'll see it tomorrow, I guess. Just no more funny business. You promise me that?
Okay.
Come on, promise me.
Make an insight check if you want.
Yeah.
You're like a gym teacher
I'm
telling
trying.
kids
I'm
not
trying to make sure
cheat.
no one gets fucking. This next little spot sounds really dangerous. Insight. 15.
Okay, so you look at him. You can see his eyes cast down a little bit. You get the sense that he's probably not going to do any other pranks. Given that roll, you also see his hand in the pocket of this big fur parka, sort of just like maneuvering something around within the fingers, and you get the sense that he certainly has at least a coin. At least,
Yeah, I don't really care about that part.
We're going together, but
Yeah.
for what it's worth.
That's fine. I mean, what else are these people doing up here? It's not like I'm gonna turn them into the authorities for being like whatever up here. It doesn't matter to me.
Well, yeah, the Zinni are kind of the closest thing to and really hands off with the rest of the community, so not even really them.
Yeah.
Arguably, Uriel's watch is sort of the law and order, was the law and order of this land for a little bit. But sure, no problem.
These
He
people are
goes,
bored. This is fun for him as long as he's not hurting anyone. I don't care.
Also, like, what would you even tell him
Yeah.
for being like he's getting paid for his
I
business?
don't. No, exactly. That's why I don't care.
he doesn't have a business license.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh man, the Sarantilian IRS is rough.
Okay. So yeah, I guess
Heinrich,
that's
make a
it.
perception check as you kind of stay up for the night and you take this watch.
Use nod for it as per usual.
Sure.
Oh yeah. Okay. 23.
Okay. About 3 in the morning, the faint wisps of clouds that had been part of this huge structure of permanent clouds and small peaks begin to sort of separate, or you realize more likely just condensation beginning to form new clouds. And this beautiful starlit sky is replaced by more of a patchy one. You take Nod and you have Nod make large arcs over the ground, looking at the dark shadows and trying to remember the peaks and valleys here. There's a moment around 3 in the morning. It's getting dark because the clouds coming in and the moon beginning to set. But you are aware through Nod's eyes of movement all of a sudden, coming from the direction of that maybe hours ago, that chunk of snow that had fallen off a mountain in the distance. You said 23? You see 3 figures, humanoid, and traveling roughly in your direction. And as Nod kind of takes another pass, you can see they stop. Don't seem to notice Nod. How close is Nod getting to these individuals?
Not very.
Okay.
I don't want to let her presence be known.
With a perception check of 23, you see the movement in them. They seem to be regarding each other. It seems like maybe a brief communication or conversation. You can see the one in the middle still stands there. The one on the right seems to almost vanish into the snow. The one on the left begins to make a large arc, also ducking down, seeming to try to become hidden, but goes in the different direction. And you realize, as Nod begins to circle back, they seem to be circling the area that you guys have made your encampment in.
Okay, making the rounds, waking everyone up.
Okay.
I'll start with whoever's closest, and if I'm by the fire, I guess, while I'm doing this, then it would be Hein and Sally. Then I don't know where Shae is, but I'll try to find Shae. And then back to the GamQ blast.
Okay. You, given your perception check, I will say, you wake up Sally, you wake up Pine, Sally comes to quietly. Actually, both Sally and Pine, when they come to quietly and alert. Like this is something that for them, living in a place and working in a business where they're out in the wilds of the north, they're used to waking up and just being ready. It takes you a second, but you look up, you look in the trees around, and in one of the taller ones, you see this faint flicker of orange. And it's Shae just kind of in one of the boughs. You wake her. Shae, what do you do?
Knock on the trunk.
Oh, instantly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the fire. Okay.
Oh no, to Shae. Just like, there's creatures coming. One disappeared into the snow and
Are
went
you messaging? Because I'm
this
still
way.
up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like one went, and then I'll gesture that way. Like they're hidden. They went that way. One took a wide arc and went that way. The other one seems to be coming directly. I think we're being flanked.
Did you see what they were dressed like?
Did I see what they were dressed like?
From that distance and in the dark, just figures clad in mostly white.
That.
We should move. If we can.
Where?
Away.
Okay, go wake the other two, and I'll see if Pine and Sally could help get the dogs ready. Maybe we can just make a break for it now.
Alright. Make my way down out of the tree.
Okay. You climb down, your hands almost just skating over the bark as you basically slide. You land quietly. As you look up, your passive perception is 19.
Mm-hmm.
You look around, kind of seeing off maybe 10 feet in front of you the Gam Cube, just quiet in the snow. You can see an apprehensive looking Sally now pulling the hood up over her head in the night air. You can see Pine, who looks a little bit sleepy. And then looking beyond all of them, towards sort of a tree line, you see dark and huddled against one of the trees a large humanoid figure. You can see white furs across its body, but not animal furs. It seems to be just natural hair that grows out. You can't see a face, but you do see wrapped around the bark of one of these trees a large hand with thick black nails. Some sharp, some of them broken off in places. You see dried blood beneath one, matted into the fur. And then you hear from the sort of mountain, not mountain, but this large hill that cuts off sheer near where you put your camp. You hear movement from up there as well.
How close?
Very. And then you hear you see that shape, that figure begin to move, and at the same time you hear snow depart from the ledge as a figure begins to drop. And in this moment, I need everybody to roll initiative. Probably 10 feet away from you, Shae, and no more than 15 away from you, Heinrich. One of the three Yetis into the ground, landing, shaking the snow. Dogs begin barking. And I need everybody to roll initiative. Give me just one sec here.
It's really nice having my dicey encounter D20 back.
Oh,
I hope you
Because-
didn't burn it all earlier.
Well, I mean, it's doing exactly what I hoped it would do. It's been rolling high, and then
Attracting Yetis.
that's all you really need, you know? Just track Yetis.
garbage initiative. It's like it knows what I'm rolling for.
A race or fighting for your life?
Rolling initiative to get into a battle with some deadly yetis.
But sabotaging and potentially killing your friends.
Anybody? Natural 20s on initiative.
Me.
Oh, look at that.
Me.
Heinrich with the natural 20.
It's appropriate. I was the
It's
one who
true.
saw.
It's true.
Okay, Heinrich with natural 20. 25 to 20.
21.
25.
21, 25.
Till we get to the end.
Gunter, what do you get?
2. Nice.
So, just so you know, the initiative orders go from natural 20 to 15 at the bottom, and then all the way down the basement at 2 is Gunter. So, lovely.
But I'm also in the GameCube, so they can't do shit to me.
So, interesting point. At the moment, Morwen and Gunter are asleep.
Yeah.
And in the
So,
game.
yes.
And
which
can't
is,
hear what's going on.
So,
Yeah.
Oh no, we're sound asleep, like
We're
dreaming.
just like
And...
having a
in
nice
this dark night, surrounded by snow, the order is going to be Heinrich, Shae, Morwen, you'll dream, and then we'll go from there. But, because it is 10 o'clock, we're going to have to take a quick break before we get into the combat itself. It is 10:01. We'll be back at call it 10:15. Need just that little extra time to get some stuff together. But when we get back, we're going to fight some Yetis.
Yeti
Back at 10:15, we'll see you then.
Bye.
And howdy, folks. Welcome back to Adventures in Alberon, where we're about to start fighting some Yetis. For those of you who are just joining in, welcome. For those of you who stuck with us through the break, thank you for sticking with us. We appreciate it. I haven't had my chat up the whole time, I realized, just because we scrambled so heavily to get everything together for the very end, so I'll bring that up just a second. But thank you guys very much. Talon, thank you for the bits. Getting right into it. So, I sent you guys a map, which I believe is in chat. This is sort of the scene that you were in. The Gam Cube is all the way north, tucked into this sort of opening between the trees up against the hillside. You have Heinrich directly outside of it, maybe 5-10 feet away from the door. You have one of the Yetis that plummeted and landed almost like superhero style off of the hill, right in front of you. Shae, about 20 feet diagonal, a little bit closer to the hillside. We're going to begin with Heinrich and Nod, then Shae, and then Morwen. Heinrich, you see directly in front of you this huge white furred beast. You can see you can't see its face at the moment, although you see tinges of what look like almost like a dark gray mottled skin. What are you doing?
Just hold monster it.
Okay.
It's like a reaction. I'm just like, nope.
What is the spell save DC on that?
19, or sorry, 17.
17. And you're casting it at
It's
fifth
a
level?
wisdom.
What level are you casting it at?
It doesn't have, oh no, it does have an up.
It
does
does.
have an up,
And
but
you
it's
have
only
to
at fifth
you have
level
to cast.
anyways.
Okay. So,
Yep.
what is the DC?
It is 17 of wisdom save.
Okay. It rolled a 16. So,
Wait, we're still on the lock screen. Or
There's
the
a
break
delay.
screen.
I think it's probably just the delay.
Oh, Talon's saying. Okay.
Oh yeah, Talon is saying that he sees the break screen. Well, we can try to get that sorted out real quick. That's what I see as well, actually.
I'll switch us back over and we can toggle it again.
Yeah, give that a shot. And maybe we're back. Hello. We'll find out pretty soon. Talon, please let us know, because if it wasn't for you typing a chat, we wouldn't have known that we didn't come back from the break screen to begin with. I'm not sure. I might just take a second before jumping us into the battle to make sure that we have it ironed out, because it still seems to be... I don't know what the actual delay time is, but it still seems to be the break screen.
15 seconds usually seems like average.
Oh, we're back.
It's looking smoother on this end, so.
Yeah, we're back.
Cool.
Okay.
It just seems like it's really... So, like, coming into the part that we're coming into now, it's very, very laggy. So, it's just like just frozen image. I don't know if they can hear us or not, but for you to be aware.
As of this moment, everything looks smooth on OBS, so it's got to be a connection with Twitch.
Weird. Okay. Well,
Well, they can hear us.
they can hear us. That's the most important thing, I guess. So we'll jump right into the combat then. Heinrich, you cast Hold Monster on this Yeti. As you hold your hand out, you see glyphs pop into life around before settling across its fur, its skin, and seeming to lock into it. You see elements of this fur illuminated now from underneath, the teal light glowing from within. It is held.
Perfect.
Well done.
I'm gonna just command Nod to like fly to a safe distance and keep an eye out for the one that we don't see that we saw taking the wide arc.
Okay.
Just like
So
if it can alert me.
for Nod, make a perception check. Let us his action.
With advantage. What's this? It's good. Can I get it better? Cannot get it better. 16.
16. Okay. Nod off into the air, begins to arc around. You can Doesn't seem to see, sense any kind of recognition of there being another threat that he can see.
Okay. Just keep at it.
Sure. That is your turn, Shae. What do you want to do more when you're
I
on
guess
deck?
I'll move back a little bit more
Okay.
central.
If you
Central
take,
to, like the whole area.
so you're going to go forward. You could, okay.
I guess back away from the GameCube, just because the last description you gave me was like in front of the door, but I am not facing.
You get 5 feet, and you move 5 feet further. That's going to put you directly in front of this Yeti. So you are now like toe to toe with it. It is bent down, kind of hasn't moved since you cast that spell.
Okay, that's, I guess, more open clearing, middle of. Is that where it is? Is it in the middle of the clearing?
Seems to be, yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll just kind of not move then. I'll just stay where I was.
So you stay just right in front of the door, no problem.
Yeah.
So that brings us to Shae. What do you want to do?
I'm going to hit the one that's closest, I suppose.
Okay. So directly in front of you, there is this Yeti. You watch as the teal seems to close in around it, and it seems to stop rising from where it was. Go ahead and make your attack. I believe it is at advantage because it is held.
That is
Paralyzed.
27.
27 hits. Go ahead and roll damage on that.
For 10 points of damage.
10 points of damage. Nice. You sink your fist into this Yeti. It is bent over, and as you hit it, you feel the damage. You feel something almost snap within. It doesn't move. It doesn't seem to react.
Take another one. For 28.
The other hand comes in. This is a mean left hook, and you snap across the face. The whole head turns sharply, but does not rebound.
That's another 10 points of damage.
Very nice. 20 total.
And then there's a third. For 23.
23. 23 hits also.
That's 9.
9. So you all, or I think Heinrich, you have the best view of this, but Shae, from the other side of this, after your magic sinks into this creature, Shae is immediately upon it. There's a right hook, a left hook, and then the elbow comes around and nails it straight on top of the skull. You hear a sickening thud as this damage cracks through to it. This creature doesn't stagger forward. It is held magically, but you get the sense that it's not horrifically injured from that assault. Even through the magic that's holding it, it seems you can see the only thing that moves are the fingers that ball into fists. You can see little bits of this dark blood coming from the nails that dig into its own hands. It's pretty pissed. Shae, anything else?
With all that kind of spinning around it, so that way I'm between the two of them.
Okay, so you sort of Ip Man your way around as you strike.
Yep.
And circle to the right, and then put yourself between Heinrich and this creature.
Yep.
So it is now Heinrich, Shae, and the creature. No space between any of you. Very well. That is your turn. Morwen, what would you like to do?
I mean, I'm in the GameCube and hear nothing, correct?
Interesting point of fact. Roll a d20 for me.
13.
Okay. You sleep pretty soundly. I'm going to say for the time being, your turn passes. That brings us to, at a tie, Pine, Sally, and the Yeti. So Sally is technically actually would go first. She's going to totter 15. It's technically difficult terrain. She's going to move 10 feet, sort of away and towards that fallen tree. She looks like she's going to hide. Pine is going with her, but it seems to be in more of like a protective stance. This Yeti, it gets a save at the end of its turn, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll do that in a second. The Yeti that is off in the farthest distance of this map, the top left-hand corner, is going to use all of its movement to get up to you, Heinrich. You can see from behind you, you hear the sound of branches snapping and snow compacting, and you turn to see another one of these creatures rushing towards you. You can hear from beneath this low kind of as it begins to get closer. However, it cannot attack. It takes all of its action and movement to get there. So it's going to pull up right next to you. That is its turn. The one that is held is going to be a 9. So it is still held. You can hear the muscles beginning to tense underneath, but it's unable to move. That is their turn. That brings us to Gunter. What do you want to do, Heinrich? You're on deck.
I'm gonna dream pleasant dreams.
Gunter, in your mind,
The GameCube.
you think back to easier days in your life before you really became an adventurer, back in the nestle of the lake or the area that is now Lake Tannic. But you sleep well. That brings us back to the top of the order. Heinrich and Nod. What would you like to do? Shae, you're on deck.
So Nod's just, I think for all future turns until discovered, just do quick sweep check to see if the third Yeti is anywhere. Do you see?
Make a perception check for Nod.
Oh yeah, 17 and an 18 plus. That's 22.
22. So, looking at the map that you can see on the northern part of it, on the other side of the GameCube, maybe 50 feet away from that and running, you can see a third Yeti.
Okay, so up basically directly from that top right corner.
Yep, on the other side of the GameCube. So Heinrich cannot see it, but Nod
Yep.
can see it from above.
Noted. All right, I'm gonna take some steps back towards the door of the GameCube, and while doing so, fire off Eldritch Blasts to push the paralyzed Yeti away from Shae to trigger that opportunity attack, and then
Okay,
the
yeah,
other two
sure.
bolts, and then the other 2 bolts to push the other one just a little bit away.
Okay,
Sort of spread the damage around.
sure.
So, one at the paralyzed one, which is a natural 20 with advantage. So natural 20.
Yeah, okay.
To start. Fuck.
I-
And then the other 2 bolts regularly will be a 21, and then a critical fail. So I kind of swept the spectrum there.
Yeah, you really got everything.
High, mid, low.
The first bolt that you fire off just kind of streaks out towards the further Yeti. You're kind of like crossing your body to shoot that one.
Yeah.
With the other one, you shoot at the one that is paralyzed no more than 10 feet away. You have to kind of reach around Shae to do it.
Yeah.
But as you do, I mean, you are so close, you level it directly at the chest. Go ahead and roll damage. Double the dice for that critical. That's
Maximum damage. So that's 20 plus 5, so 25 points of fucking force damage.
well done.
Holy shit. And then
So-
does the other bolt still also the other one? I can just
Yeah, you can roll damage for that. For this particular one, you can see as it hits. How far does he move?
It moves 10 feet back.
This, it's like the glyphs appear in your hand. You can see these teal magical runes twinkle into being before they become igniting this sort of arcane circular glyph that is moving. And as you reach out, it seems to almost form less of a bolt and more of a beam that hits and strikes the creature, moving it, ripping away elements of the fur. You can see gray skin that begins to kind of harden with the impact.
I do
Shae,
wanna
you get an attack of opportunity
It's
as
a
it is.
natural 20.
You fucking
So
hell,
let's roll
dude.
damage on that too.
Damn.
You can see
Maybe I don't need to wake you guys up.
The creature still
Don't wake me.
is spun with the force of the blast. Shae, what was your
That's
damage?
15 damage.
And Shae just clotheslines this thing. You can see the head stay still, the whole body swing up, still paralyzed, still rigid, before it lands prone on its back, still unable to move. You hear this from him. How much was that, Shae?
15 damage.
Damn. Okay.
So the last bit of damage for the other one that pushed back as well, but the non-paralyzed one is
Sure.
13 damage.
13 points of damage. As you can see, and you don't see this happen, you hear the sound of the impact of the neck and bones just getting swept into Shae's arm. But what you see is this other Yeti bearing down at you, and as you release a bolt of Eldritch Blast, it strikes it too. And you can see the momentum halted before the feet, not moving in the ground, are pulled through the snow, leaving a skid about 10 feet long.
Perfect.
It immediately begins to move forwards again, but it is 10 more feet away.
Cool. Continuing to move backwards, I'm going to just like... If
10
it's an
feet
easy
back,
action,
back up against the GameCube.
yeah, like reach for the doorknob to open it up if I can.
I would say, given the fact that you fired off...
Sure, that's fine. I'll kick on the door then.
Okay.
I'll just start kicking on it, even though I know it doesn't do anything.
Sure, yeah, you're kicking on the door. For everybody else outside, clang, clang, clang in the battle. But for the rest of you within the GameCube, Morwen, Guntir, you're sleeping well. Shae, what do you want to do?
Noticing the one go prone, turn around, and now my attention's on the other one. So I'm gonna go hit that one.
Okay. You can hear the air escaping the injured lungs of this creature. Your eyes turn, you look beyond Heinrich. You see, skidding backwards, but the first foot already beginning to charge forwards, this other Yeti.
So 22.
22 hits. So you streak past Heinrich. This is with the spear?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. As you're moving, you pull the spear from behind you. Heinrich, you hear the magnetic spear separate from the housing with this whoa, and Shae is already by you. What's your damage?
That's 12.
12 points of damage, nice.
And 19.
19, yeah, 19 hits.
For 6.
6, okay. So, Shae, you come forward, you dig the spear against the side of the leg. It cuts along the thigh. You see instantly the dark blood begin to ooze into the white fur. It doesn't seem too hurt, but you do see the eyes for the very first time. They are brilliantly blue, icy blue. You can see almost within them what looks like drifts of actual ice. It is a chilling look, for sure. And it is fixated on you.
With a flurry of blows with the fist.
There you go.
For 10? Or, no, 30, 20 to hit.
Okay, that hits.
And 10 points of damage.
Okay.
And a natural 20.
Roll damage for that.
Holy shit.
Is 11.
Okay, so as it looks up, these icy eyes taking you in, you see they are no longer directed at Heinrich, they are directed at you. And so you unleash another flurry. You hit it in the jaw. You can actually see one of the incisors out into the dark. You can actually bring your elbow around. You manage to get it right in the ribs. You feel the flesh give away and a strangely spongy sensation. This thing is kind of hurt. You looking back and forth, the two are almost in similar positions at this point. But anything else?
Positioning myself so I am very much between it and Heinrich. But that's it.
Okay, so you step away from the one that is prone. It is prone and held and cannot make any kind of attack of opportunity, so no problem. You get there. It is now it, then diagonal in a space you, and then diagonal from you, but then up is Heinrich. That is your turn, Morwen. You sleep. That brings us to, you see Pine and Sally now dive over this log. Given Sally's age. Oh, Sally rolls a natural 20.
All around.
Sally dives over this thing. You can see it is this gorgeous leap. It is as if she is doing gymnastics, and this is one of the saddle horses. You see Pine struggle to get over it in comparison. But that is what they do. It is the Yeti's turn. So the Yeti that was pushed back and then attacked by you, Shae, you can see the eyes seem to almost smolder with this burning, icy blue in the darkness. And I need you to go ahead and make a Constitution saving throw for me, please.
19.
Okay. You feel as these eyes settle upon you, those little bits of ice that seem to be almost floating, seem to stretch out towards you. They don't physically move, but you feel that coldness reaching out, and you shake it away. It does not
This is
affect.
summer breeze. We're good.
That is its turn. The one that is down gets a save at the end, correct? That's 18?
17.
17, doesn't matter. It's an 11. And finally, Heinrich, you are aware as you're looking at the one, actually, Shae, you two looking at the one you just hit. Behind the Gam Cube now, you can see peeking out, you see this one clawed hand on the side, and then you see the final Yeti emerge. But he has to end his turn still just right on the other end of the Gam Cube because he's far away.
Yep.
That is the Yeti's turn. That brings us to Gunter, who dreams. Heinrich, what would you like to do? Shae.
Extra cocoa.
Open up the door, and I'm assuming that's not an action to use a doorknob.
It's so technically, it could be, but I would call it a bonus action.
Yeah. So as that, I'll just sort of like try to open the door, basically.
Sure. You open the door. Suddenly, Gunter, Morwen, you especially because you're closer to the door, you hear the sounds of fighting. You hear this kind of grunt, and I would say both of you suddenly, a little bit confused, are now awake. The cold air blowing into the Gam Cube. That one ratty blanket on the wall just billowing in this air.
And then just with a quick free, like, get up now, Yetis! And then I'm gonna run back out towards the paralyzed one.
Okay, so you run back out towards the one on the
I don't
ground.
know.
You step up to it.
Okay.
That was all cozy.
As I'm
Yeti.
as I'm running at it, I'm just gonna blast it away. Three blasts. I'm like sweeping it away from me. I'm just widening up the battlefield.
Sure. Okay. So go ahead and roll those attacks there at advantage because he is
Yeah.
and hello.
Okay, so the first one, we got a 21. The second one is a natural 20.
Okay.
Holy crap.
Holy fuck.
Jesus.
I mean, advantage is great. And then the third one,
Yeah, Eldritch Blast and natural 20
Hey.
is pretty big.
this is a fair comeuppance, though. The last one was a 13. So if that misses, it's because I skidded him too far away.
Okay.
All right. So damage on the regular one is 14. The damage on the crit, ugh, that sucks. But less good than the other one. Is 9. So total of 23 damage.
23.
Skidded away from me 10 feet.
So interesting point, I believe, and I have to double check. But I was looking at this earlier. Every beam of repelling blast is worth 10 feet. So if you're hitting it 3 times,
Perfect.
technically, you're moving at 30 feet away. Double check that for me, but if I remember
When
correctly,
you hit
that
a
is
creature with Eldritch Blast, see that's the vagueness of the rule is that when you hit it with Eldritch Blast, but not a beam of Eldritch Blast. So if you want to rule it, I can push it 30 feet. I will do that.
that to me my understanding of the text, and I can double check, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So no problem. This thing, you hit it,
Skitter it off.
skids
Or
across
20
the
feet,
snow
sorry.
and the ice. It spins in this. It's just Beyblades its way across the ice. You see it into one of the trees and skids about 5 feet away. I'm going to say it takes an additional 1 point of bludgeoning damage from that. And what was the total amount of damage? It was 24.
23 plus the 1, so 24 total. And then 20 feet away from me, and then I'll continue running towards it, just sort of like sweeping open the battlefield.
Looking at this thing as you're running towards it, you can see it's one of its legs is bent in a way that it is not designed to be. This thing is looking pretty rough.
Cool.
You can see the eyes from this downed beast still fixated angrily on you, but there's an edge of panic to it. That is your turn. That brings us to Shae. What do you want to do?
I'm gonna hit the one in front of me again.
Go for it.
That's 26.
26 hits. Roll damage.
10. Very
All right.
consistent tonight. Hit it again for that's 27
27 hits. Yeah. Even more.
for 6. And this one we'll just follow up with 1 unarmed strike,
Sure. Why not? Just for fun.
just for fun. That's 24?
Yeah, 24 hits.
6.
All right. So, looking briefly at the one that Heinrich is fighting, it's in rough shape on the ground. And quickly, the one that you are pummeling into is beginning to match that. You're not keeping up with the damage that Heinrich just inflicted, but this thing is going down quick. Anything else?
Spin a little bit so that way that one is between me and the one that's emerging.
Okay, sure. Yeah, you rotate your body 5 feet to the right and put yourself. The other one is still maybe like 20 feet away from you. It's on the other side of the GamCube, but no problem. You're between the two. Morwen, you were awake. You are somewhat discombobulated, but you are in bed. You see the door wide open, little bits of snow blowing in with the wind. You can hear Shae hitting something. It is a familiar sound.
Alright. Gonna get up. I'm gonna walk over to the door and be like, calling us Yetis, what the hell? I'm going to shut the door, but then I'm like, real Yetis!
Yeah, you can see just Shae teeing off on this one directly in front of you, and you see one spin away and out of your sight. Follows him.
Alright, so that's the only actual Yeti I see, so I'm gonna go after that one.
Sure.
Can I make it there with my 30 feet?
Yes, it's only about 15 feet away from you.
I give it a good puss.
Okay. You pull out your rapier and you thrust it forwards to the left of Shae.
Natural 20!
Oh my god. Yeah. That's what, like 5?
This is absurd!
We've all rolled at least one
Trap.
tonight.
Technically, it was not aware of your presence, and you would have advantage on it. For both, yeah, for 3 reasons you would have advantage on it. So yeah, this is a sneak attack.
Sneaky.
As a reminder, you double all the dice rolls, including your sneak attack dice. Natural
have that
20
one.
from a rogue.
So,
I think it's been 10
How's
tonight,
it happen?
including with Sally's dive. I think that also builds towards 10.
Sally's dive 2 is on this really nice dice where it's a unicorn for the 20, so it confused me for a second.
wow.
Oh god.
Oh, I like nothing.
That's a lot to math.
It really is. Okay.
It's probably
Don't
like
distract her.
10 dice.
It's 10 dice.
Alright, calculator's coming out.
Alright, it's 48.
48 points of damage. So you dash over to the one that you can see. Shae is just beaten a tremendous amount. You said 48?
Yes,
I
sir,
have to
I
do math
did.
now. Hang on.
Math wars.
Shae, you can see. I have to look at how much health this thing has. Okay. Shae, you can
Not
see as you are hitting this thing, it is like moving backwards. You can see the eyes begin to glow, the mouth is opening. You can hear the beginnings of this. And as it does, all of a sudden, right out of the mouth, the tip of pus appears and draws back. The Yeti slumps down dead. That is,
Good morning, Morwen.
I'm still in my pajamas and I'm grumpy. I was woken up.
as this massive, snowy, white beast to the ground on the other side, holding out the rapier,
Just
still like thrust out. Yellow pajamas with pink smiley faces, very grumpy bedhead cat fur everywhere. But a slayer of Yetis. Guntir. No, sorry. It is the Yeti's turn. That Yeti is dead. The one on the other side of the GamCube, seeing you, Shae, is going to come up to you. So is now exactly in front of you. That is going to put you. Okay. You can see it inhales as it runs, and as you brace yourself for this roar that you've already heard in your face, there is this roar, but it seems to be followed by a blast of icy wind. And I need Shae and Morwen to make Constitution saving throws, please.
Ooh,
Oh.
not a natural 20.
Grumpy cat. 4.
7. 17.
17? Okay. As this breath erupts, these ice crystals seem to rupture from the throat or the mouth themselves. It's hard to tell exactly where they erupt from, but you guys are going to take, both of you fail. Hang on.
That's a lot of dice. That's like 10 dice.
It's exactly 10 dice. You're going to take 48 points of cold damage for each of you.
Shot for shot.
This wind ripple across your face. You can feel, Shae, the tears in your eyes begin to freeze. You have to squint them against it and close them. And when you open, there are bits of ice that break away. You can see bits of ice on the lashes themselves. Morwen, for you, very concerned about the moisture of your eyes. You close them because you feel it icing over. The tip of your cat nose is almost pale white with the beginnings of frostbite, but this washes over you. That is that Yeti's turn.
I picture just like I just woke up in a real bad mood. I stabbed this Yeti and then I'm just like ice shower, just like ah.
And Shae, it is then going to make 2 claw attacks against you.
Okay.
First one is going to be a 18 to hit.
Miss!
And the second one is going to be a 29 to hit.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
that
a good
hits.
spread there.
That's going to be 14 points of slashing damage. And as the claws rake into you, you take an additional 8 points of cold damage. As the talons themselves, they do the opposite of cauterizing. They seem to almost freeze the blood where it cuts, and you can feel the tissue itself almost pop and burst as it does so. It's not comfy.
No.
That is its turn. That brings us to, you know what? Given her natural 20. You... Shae, from the side, as this is happening, you can feel the air rip across your body, your face torn by small shards of ice that actually tear into the skin itself. And as the breath stops, smoke or the steam from its breath rising into the air, a rock whistles out of the darkness from behind this log. Donk! And does 1 point of bludgeoning damage. Sally rolled a natural 18 to huck a rock that she is not proficient in.
Yeah, Sally. Everyone's contributing.
That is Sally's turn. Gunter, you now awake alone in the Gam Cube. You saw Morwen kind of stumble over the door. You could see the fur suddenly, and then Morwen out the door. What are you doing?
I'm gonna like, you gotta shut the door! I'm gonna get up and go to shut the door.
What's your movement speed?
25 feet.
So it takes you all but 5 of your feet of movement to get to the door. You are. I'll say you're in the middle. It's 20. It's like 20 feet the entire length. So if you guys are up in the corner because you have no furniture and presumably you want to be against something, it's 20 feet to walk over there.
Yeah, okay.
You walk up to the door. You see out the door Shae and Morwen with ice like across them, coated into them, and you see shards of ice sticking out behind and around them. You imagine just struck with this wind. You see a Yeti, just steam coming out of its mouth on the other side. You don't see Heinrich. You don't see the frozen Yeti spinning across the ground.
I'm gonna just point at the Yeti and say, "Go to bed!" And I'm upcasting Guiding Bolt at level 5.
Okay. Roll your attack roll.
Do not wake us up.
I'm also going to go ahead and invoke one of my divine interventions to add 10 to this roll, so it's 28.
One of your divine interventions?
Yeah, it's not my divine intervention. My, what is it?
your channel divinity?
Yes, my channel divinity.
So you reach out, and as you say, "Go to bed," there is this shoom of energy that actually your bedclothes ripple around you. The ice that is accumulated on the side of the GamCube in the night shatters away. There is this snow wave that pressures down around you, like very anime style, like, and then this ripple of a shock wave as this bright light streaks out and passes the Yeti. Suddenly, as you squint and like direct all of your attention, you feel the gaze of Cord himself turn down onto Alberon, and you see this bolt past the Yeti, curve around. And
What?
go ahead and roll your damage. You added 10 to the.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's what happens when you're best boys with a god.
Well,
Oh man. Alright, this is good. Okay.
Look at all this math.
Alright, yeah. So that's 30 points of radiant damage plus
Okay.
35? Yeah.
Gunter, as you shout, "Go to bed!" there is this, the shockwave ripples around you. The whole GamCube shifts 3 or 4 inches in the snow, this massive iron structure. You can see, Shae, next to you, this large fir tree, probably like a foot thick, cracks slightly. Snow from the entire forest that you can see in front of you parts from the trees. You watch as this beam streaks, curves, and strikes the Yeti from behind. From your perspective, Shae, you see the guiding bolt from the other side as it tears through the flesh and the fur, which smolders and burns. You see Gunter's chest through the Yeti's chest. Stairs going up to Gunter's bedclothed feet and chest. You don't actually see the head that's up above the Yeti before the Yeti down dead. Well done. There's one left.
Can I free action slam the door shut and go back to bed?
As a bonus action, you certainly can.
Alright, then I'm gonna use my bonus action to slam the door shut and go back to bed.
The door shuts. There's a reverberating clang as the battle continues. Heinrich, what would you like to do? Shae, you're on deck. There is one Yeti remaining.
and it's paralyzed
It's
on the
currently
ground. Mercy kill. 3 bolts to the paralyzed Yeti.
Sure. You don't need to roll damage for the paralyzed Yeti. You hold your hand down, and Heinrich, tell us how it happens.
It's sort of like a moment where I'm staring in its eyes, just trying to gauge whether or not it's feeling any remorse or just a wild animal that would do this regardless. And then I just settle on
in
it
that
would do
moment, you can see the eyes squint, the pupils like into pinpoints,
Yeah.
and it begins to growl even as it's held. And you feel this arcane magic beginning to flicker and break away. You
Yeah.
can see one arm begin to lift towards you.
Yeah, and then I just kind of turn my head and just like 3 bolts to the face as I like look away to see how my friends are doing.
Yeah, you look away, and for anybody looking over, they see your eyes turn, and then this light from the Eldritch Blast, like 3 gunshots, poof, 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 and you see the Yeti just slump dead on the ground. And for this moment, Finger Gang, I'm going to take you out of combat because you guys just
That's
annihilated.
fucking ridiculous. Those natural 20s.
They can
are
do
just
some.
like
Those are
I'm never gonna
abominable
see one
Yeti.
again.
Those are strong creatures.
Yeah, that breath is spooky.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
they
Shae's
didn't even get a
looking
chance
rough.
to really. They didn't get to use. Only Shae got hit with the chill gaze, but didn't
No,
even
I
get.
did too.
Mm-mm.
Another gaze.
Oh.
The chill gaze paralyzes you for a minute.
Old monster, but
it's-
for Yetis.
Yes, it's pretty.
Alright.
But in this moment, the door shut. It is clang, 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 out into the echoing woods. No snow falls from the trees, as there is no snow in the trees in the immediate vicinity. Off in the distance, you can see stars, you can see wisps of clouds, but from somewhere above, you can hear thunder roll. And Gunter, as you get back into bed, you feel warmth, and you feel pretty good.
I'm
Sally
going-
comes. Oh, good.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Come on, you.
Oh, I'm going to follow Gunter's idea of going in. But before I do, I'm gonna try to fasten, like, I've got a little bell, and I want to, like, attach it to some wire so that outside you can just, like, ding-a-ling-a-ling.
Okay.
So inside we can hear.
Sure.
But the only bell I have is a mute bell, and I forgot about that. So that's the one I use.
A mute bell?
Okay. You take a bell. You take the mute bell out.
It's just a mute bell, but it looks like a bell, and I'm not thinking that it's a mute bell, so that's the one I use to
Take the
fashion
bell.
our doorbell.
You put it up on the top. You put some wire along. It takes a little bit of finagling, but you get it to a point. It's weird. As you shut the door, you see it move. Don't hear it.
Next time, just, good night. I point to the bell. Good night.
The door shuts. No sound.
Shut the door!
As I'm walking around, I'm like, are you okay? Shae, are you okay?
That hurt.
Yeah. Let me, here, and I'll just use Cure Wounds. So, just for the sake of it, in case there's any other bumps in the night before we get the rest.
Sure. Hold your hand out, and these celestial lights and glyphs erupt from your hand and close in around Shae's wounds. Shae, you feel these shards of ice that are melting within your actual body just fall away as the skin knits itself back together.
38
And you feel a lot better.
points of
Still only at like 2/3, but better.
Sally now kind of jumps over the downed log and comes rushing up to you, Heinrich, because you are right in the middle. I got it. Good. Ha.
Yes, that
You
was
got
quite
it.
good, Sally.
Ah. That was quite some excitement. Normally we just run from them, but
Yeah, well, they kind of circled us pretty good, so I don't think we would have been able to get them up. And I kind of point over to the cube.
she turns over at the cube. Ah, well, perhaps not, but you all are quite strong. I feel much better having you along with us.
Yeah, and with your guidance to our destination, I feel pretty comfortable right now. I mean, not really, but you know what I mean.
She looks at you and like there's a cold of wind that blows across.
Mhm.
And she nods and says, I think we'll make good time. What do you intend to do once you get to Squall's End anyways?
Oh boy, it's for research, gathering information, the impending end of the world, and I just kind of like find a alien star in the sky and point at it.
She looks up at it. Oh, well, I guess if you don't want to tell me, you don't have to, but if you did have another destination somewhere in the north, I hope you do consider coming to the Abletoe Dogsledding Company and letting us help you out. I think it's a mutually beneficial arrangement.
Seems
Isn't that
like
right,
so
Mike?
far.
And from behind the log, you just see like one hand come up with the thumb, sink back down.
Our stop in Squall's End should be quick. I don't know what your plans are after leaving us.
Normally, this would be one of the busiest times in the season, right before we get into the true heart of winter, but with everything that's gone on in Kul Tiram, our normal business hasn't really resumed, so we find ourselves in a bit of a vacation, so to speak, a forced one.
Well, we'd appreciate your help if you wouldn't mind lending it more.
Well, I wouldn't, that's why I offered it. But I'm going to go back to sleep. Good job, Heinrich, in
Yes.
finding danger. I feel much better with you on watch.
Yeah,
Just wake
I'll
us when you get tired.
Nod will land. I'll be like, yeah, she did most of the work on that one.
Oh, of course. Good night. And she hobbles back to her tent.
Let's resume what we were trying to accomplish, which is getting you all rested up.
Yes. if
I'll
you see anything else.
Move the bodies off somewhere else so it's not so gruesome in the morning.
Okay. Sure, you return to
I'll
your
spend
tree.
the evening doing that and reading my book at the same time. Just kind of like dragging the Yeti and like...
What's your strength?
Avos. Oh no, I totally can't do that. Never mind.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's pretty
I
tough.
might just have to use the butt blast technique and just blast their bodies away, you know, repeatedly.
Like to.
Horrible technique.
No, that's gonna attract attention. Fuck it, I'm gonna leave them there.
Okay.
I mean, everything we did just attracted attention. You know?
Yeah, but no more attention needs to be drawn.
I
So I'll
feel
just
safe
read.
in the GameCube.
Shay, without trouble,
Mhm.
you find your way back to your tree perch and back to sleep.
Little gingerly.
Heinrich. Yeah, it's for anybody, for you, Heinrich, if you watch, you can see normally Shae just like seems to almost walk vertical surfaces. You see Shae climb the tree. It takes a little bit and she climbs it, but it's a little bit more labor intensive than you've seen Shae be in this kind of an action. You take some time to read your Elvish book and learn some new words. And you're aware of dawn coming and the first kind of red or purple and then reddish rays of the sun as morning comes. There are no further surprises throughout the night. All of you can mark off a long rest.
What words did I learn?
What kind of words would you be looking to learn?
I feel like I'm trying to start with conversational stuff for if we're ever in a predominantly elven area, things that would be helpful for direction, you know.
Okay.
Like in
Hello,
courts,
I am
any of that
Heinrich.
crap.
Where is the bathroom?
Yes, exactly.
So you know that Vundes, Vundes, is where's basically where is, or it's an inquiry about a location.
Cool.
And you learn a couple, Vundes. Where is it here? I have a lot of books.
Vundes, what is it? Ava? Where is
Eves.
egg?
Avis.
Yeah. Vundes Eves is where is eggs, or where is egg. Interestingly, there is
Question.
no delineation you're learning between plurals and singulars.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it easier to learn. You're learning it really depends on where it is in the sentence where that matters, but that seems to be a couple chapters ahead of where you're at right now. You're just learning, the poet walks, or,
Yeah.
the basic Latin stuff.
Okay.
You continue your studies in Elvish.
Mhm.
I would say you can mark down like 3 more hours towards that's what I didn't send in your email. Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. I know I have a total of 3 from the last night, so 6 total.
Yep.
I'll start keeping track too, just in case.
So you continue your Duolingo Alberon edition experience.
Yeah.
But the rest of you find morning. Shae, you feeling a little bit better after quite an adventurous night. You all awake to these dead yetis just kind of frozen on the ground.
Who's hungry?
Yeah, let's get some food and get on the road.
Oh my god! We gotta get going! I'm gonna run over to my sled.
Okay.
I'm packing up. I'm ready. I'm going. Get him!
This thing returns into its singular handheld cube metal form. You put the Gam cube away. You begin packing things quickly.
I'm curious. Is my bell? Did it pop out or anything, or is it like packed? Like.
I would say
is it
it's within the cube. You don't see it. It seems it doesn't.
My
You don't
effective
see a
doorbell.
you don't see a tiny bell off the side of the little Gam cube. You would imagine when you resume its full size, it would be there.
Okay.
Like fold out at the end. You're like,
Yeah.
ding-a-ling-a-ling. Except because it's mute.
So you fold up the Gam cube. You begin packing quickly. Morwen, you see this. Are you doing anything?
Yeah, I'm looking for pine. I'm like,
Okay.
Breakfast,
The
right?
pine is beginning to stoke the beginnings of a fire and
Breakfast.
is getting ready to cook.
pine. Come on.
Yeah.
How long is this gonna take? Gotta get
Oh,
going.
well, gotta get the fire going, and it's pretty
Well,
cold.
Oh.
So.
Campfire.
Yeah, fire's
Oh.
going. Now, what else? What
Oh,
else do
that's
you gotta
pretty
do?
cool. I was gonna cook something, so we
Oh,
can
okay,
get
okay.
some
I
water
just
boiling.
took all the food and throw it onto the fire. No, I don't. Okay.
You Breath of the Wild it, just like throw
Start
full,
dumping
like,
the bag
rock
on.
salt,
You
a
see
full
he-
egg.
He settles onto the flames, this large cast iron, almost like a cauldron, a little smaller, like a stock pot, basically. And he begins shoveling snow into it. You watch as the snow begins to melt in the hot cauldron until eventually you have water, and the water itself begins to bubble. And slowly you watch as Pine boils water.
I'm watching him just as anxious as I was with Yambo counting the change. We're just like,
Come on, boil.
You see, like, as you're saying that, just this first little bubble pop on the surface. Gunter, easily enough, you pack your stuff. You can see Morwen just kind of like almost vibrating on the ground, waiting, and you can see Pine starting to get the fire going.
I'm gonna, ignoring that he's making food, I'm gonna be like, amateur, and I'm gonna take out some jerky and some like dry rations that I can eat as I'm getting ready to go.
So, Gunter, you tear into this old, leathery, dry jerky, and what is essentially
Some of the
just
bacon, too.
crumbly travel bits. You don't have a lot of it left, but you can finish it if you like.
Yeah, I'm gonna finish the bacon.
You have the last bits of
give it
curry
to
bacon.
the final leg of the race. I gotta be well.
Energized, sure. So
energized.
you stuff your face, little bits going. The dogs all kind of coming around you. Your team eating the scraps at your feet.
I'm gonna do like double time on my morning routine.
Okay, yeah, you're multitasking. Sure.
A piece
Without
of
any
bacon in your mouth as you're doing stretches.
You get everything. Yeah,
I'm
it's a
also
moment.
picturing him in like a too tight jogger, getting ready.
I'm like,
Belly's sticking out a little bit.
Yeah.
Gunter, you hitch everything up. You get the dogs in order. Given your animal handling abilities, very quickly they eat the little scraps that you drop, and then they're ready to go.
let's go, boys and girls.
Okay, and you using your lessons, you.
Well,
lash
no,
out
I'm not getting ready. I'm just like, as I'm feeding them, I'm like,
Okay, so you're getting
Ah.
them ready. One of the dogs just
'Cause I
turns,
gotta,
and you
I
hear the
gotta do
quiet-
some inspections.
Okay, you
'cause,
hear the quiet little of one of the dogs, and they seem ready to go.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Shae, Heinrich, are you guys doing anything?
Just gonna wait for food.
Yeah.
Patient.
You guys wait. Gunter, make an investigation check. Morwen, you watch as the water begins to boil, and Pine goes back to his bag and brings out what looks like just a bundle of sticks. And he drops it into the water, and you see they almost seem to slither. And you realize they're like very, very rustic looking, almost like noodles. And they begin to float and kind of move within. He takes out like a little block of what looks like red ice, and as he shaves a bit away with a small knife, it hits the water, and the water instantly transforms. You smell something almost. It has almost like a teriyaki kind of smell to it. It's sour, but at the same time savory and tangy. And you
Now
watch.
anxious and drooling. 'Cause
Yeah,
that
he
smells delicious.
pulls out this frozen element of what at one point was a green, maybe like a leek, although now kind of yellow underneath the ice. But he cuts that up, and as it hits, this refreshing, almost subtle scent joins the steam. You imagine that this will be very good, whatever it is. But it is taking some time.
Looking back and forth.
Yeah, different
Fine.
elements go in.
To Gunter.
Some bits of meat, what look like maybe at one point some kind of quail that has been dried out, is added in, and the smell now is quite good. Gunter, even you are smelling it, and you can see the dogs all up and down the line, little bits of saliva freezing.
I'm gonna throw him some more food.
You see
I'm gonna like
one of them.
throw him some of the rations. Be
One of
like,
them gets down and starts to just kind of crunch on it in the snow. You see the dog that had kind of boofed at you before turn at you. The head turns, one of the ears goes down a little bit, and there is just this puzzling look you see. Looks a little sad. Meanwhile, the rest of you notice the other dogs that are parts of the various other teams that you are a part of are relatively not like straight lines, but have kind of gathered in a seated position behind where Pine is. you imagine they get some element of this food as well. After about half an hour of this process, you're all served. Those of you who stay, Gunter, are you staying for this?
I would say if it's ready by the time I've like done my inspection of the
Okay.
the equipment that's on there, make sure everything's in order, gotta inspect my chariot before I ride. And
What was your
feed the
investigation?
dogs. It was a 17.
17. You get down. First of all, you're aware of the fact that there are footprints. You see Heinrich's footprints, which you are familiar with. You see others whom are either Pines or Sally's. Given the depth that they sink into the snow, you're leaning towards Pine. And speaking of Pine, just almost stylistically, because they are very, very neat, almost like they were brushed on, you see crumbled bits of pine needles. Like 2 rectangles of them that seem as if maybe they're covering something.
Some kind of practical joke. I'm gonna try to scrape it off, I guess. Like,
Okay. With what?
I think I'd say I'd take out my dagger and just try to take the edge of it and paint scrape it off.
Sure. You take the edge of the dagger, you kind of hold it at an angle and try to fold it underneath this adhesive. And although you can find like a lip where the adhesive itself ends and you should be able to get between it and the wood, whatever this adhesive is, it seems to have almost seeped into the grain of the wood and bound it together. It is very secure. You cannot find purchase on it.
All right, I'm going to keep trying really hard and cast Dispel Magic.
Okay. What level are you casting Dispel Magic at?
Base level, which I think is 3 or 4. Let me see. It's a level.
I believe it's a level 3 spell, but you can upcast
Yeah.
it. So what are you?
I'm gonna cast it at level 3. Yeah,
Okay.
it's 3rd level. Yeah.
Go ahead and roll your d20.
All right. Ooh. All right. It's 17 plus 5. 22.
You cast Dispel Magic. You feel this sort of leap of almost like an invisible lightning. You feel like static leave your hand. Nothing happens.
Damn. I'm gonna try to throw the dagger away in disgust.
Okay, you don't have it's sure. Off.
Oh, so it didn't get stuck to the side of the adhesive.
Because of what Heinrich did, the surface
just,
area that is
complete
adhesive is covered.
Okay.
There's like a thin layer, and with all the work that you did on your knife, all that you managed to do is basically make it so it looks like a scratched up bit of epoxy on top of like some pine needles. It doesn't look good.
All right. I guess I'm gonna stomp over, get a bowl of the stew.
Okay, and so as you pull it away, point in fact, not stew. This is very much essentially ramen. As it kind of gets to you, you can see small slices of dried out quail that have now fully rehydrated in the heat of this, and they float atop. You can see elements of fat that float on the top of this broth, which is thick and rich. There are small, now returned to full greenness, these little bits of what looks like chive or some kind of a leek vegetable that floats atop, and you can see it smells absolutely wonderful. It warms you just smelling it.
All right, I'm gonna go back over to the dogs, take a sniff of it, and hold it out to the one that was looking all confused.
Face straight into the bowl. The tongue goes up against it. You can see a little bit of the quail falls out, and one of the other dogs jumps down and grabs that.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it away and then put it in front of them so that they can all get to it. and then I'm gonna get ready to go.
Like a bowl like this big, and you have 8 dogs.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Okay. There is a scrum. All of a sudden, for those of you who are like over on the other side, just quietly eating this delicious meal prepared with a great amount of care by Pine for all of you, you watch as Gunter puts a bowl down, and suddenly 8 of these dogs just pile in all at once. This huge one, which was introduced to you, I believe, Gunter, as Beady Petey.
The poopy one.
Yeah, big dog Poopy Patush. Because he's got some problems. Just wedges his way in, pushes the other dogs out of the way, and you can see just one massive tongue slurps down elements of this dried out bird, and the noodles kind of go into the fur, and he just eats them all. Your dogs all seem fairly happy, for what it's worth.
Good. I'm gonna whistle to get them back in line when they're done eating, and I'm gonna use thaumaturgy to make it especially loud.
Okay, you whistle loudly. It shrieks across. Any snow that is left in the little elements of bristles that were not touched by the first spell last night crumble down onto the ground. You can see 300-400 feet off in a scrub line of little trees, this bird take flight and disappear off into the air. Shae, you would recognize that bird. Perry has a very similar one.
And I'm gonna go. Well, I guess did that get them back in line?
I mean, they don't snap back into line, but they do kind of wander over and form a rough formation.
Okay, I'm gonna re-hitch them, I guess. Do I have to hitch them up? Yeah.
Yeah, so you kind of attach and affix to each of their harnesses the yoke of this thing and get them attached to the sled. Meanwhile, the rest of you, while Gunter does all of this, is there anything that you wish to do before setting off on your journey?
Help clean up and pack up and get on the go.
I'm just gonna remind Pine and just be like, not worth our life or any harm, but get us there first. I'll double what I paid you last night.
You can see his eyes go down a little bit, and he says, last night was a really bad night.
Okay.
And you leave him to kind of get everything together. He begins to pack up the sled. Gunter, if you wish, you can get approximately a 20-minute head start.
I'm going to shout over to Sally and be like, which way is the next leg?
Sally squints. You can see the hood's down. The hair is still uncombed. She's kind of been braiding it back so that she could put the hood up. But she stops for a second and she points to the northeast and just says, well, we're going to go that way, but we want to go slow because we're getting sort of to the lip of a place that could be quite dangerous. But I know you like to go fast. Once we get there and we're all together, we can go quite fast.
All together?
Yes, as a group. It's safer, and if anybody gets stopped, it means we could try to help before one of the creatures that lives beneath the ice bursts forth and pulls you beneath.
I may also take
point,
this.
Gunter, you might want to can it for this part.
How far ahead is it?
Oh, no more than 2 hours, I would guess.
Alright. Next leg of the race is to the end of that spot. And I'm gonna, yeah!
You hear a variety of barks as this sled off and begins to move towards this very dangerous, very dangerous portion of this journey.
I'm gonna kind of turn to everyone as he takes off and be like, I think for all of our safety, we should stay away from him. Because he just can't seem to be quiet. Just give him a wide berth. He can attract the monsters and we'll kill it or save him from it if we need to.
Sally begins to resume braiding and she says, well, the thing is, the Krameshi are not really forgiving and we try very hard not to wake them up. It's been many, many years since they've deigned to rise above the ice, but they're not above taking an easy meal. we should probably try to catch up with your friend.
I think
Who?
that just puts us in greater danger, to be quite honest.
Yes,
I'm
but
wor-
if he wakes them before we get there, it makes passage almost impossible.
Yep. Fair.
And if we can't go over that particular shelf of ice, we'll need to go through the Bone Meadow. And as we've already discussed, I would love to avoid that, Heinrich.
Yeah, I don't really want to return there either.
So, can we maybe... I do hope you enjoy your food. Pine is a wonderful cook, but maybe we should hurry.
Yeah.
I'll begin to get things ready.
I'll
As
have-
she sets
helping
off,
her
and
as
you
best I
also
can.
begin to help. The two of you together begin to hitch up the dogs. Shae, you begin to help pack up the crates without too much trouble. Morwen, are you helping in any way?
Yeah.
Okay, you help out a little bit here and there when it's convenient. And together, you guys quickly settle your camp, put out your fire, and a little bit behind Gunter, maybe 15 minutes, take off. Gunter, you are leading this this journey. So,
Alright.
go ahead and for me, make a perception check.
Alright. I'm gonna like chew on some of the jerky. I'm gonna rub off some of the stuff that's in my beard. Guidance.
All the crumbs away from your face.
That is 25.
Okay. You guidance yourself and you look out, and as you touch yourself and this surge of magic goes through your face, which probably not healthy, direct application, but you suddenly feel as if the cataracts in your eyes lift. And you can see much better.
That brisk winter air.
Yeah, it's really livening you up. And the soup, whatever that was, I ate a little bit of, was really good. Like 15 minutes into this, you feel a little bit more hungry. You wish you'd eaten more of it, but
I'm gonna pull out some more jerky. Just nibble on it.
yeah, it's not the same. But you eat it; it sustains you.
Yeah.
Gunter, you
Victory
begin
would
to travel.
sustain me.
Fair enough. Sally takes the lead as you guys all begin. Easy enough to follow Gunter's trail. You all travel for about an hour and a half. Is there anything you guys wish to do during that leg of the journey? There's just flat ice and here and there, smaller and smaller trees.
Just have
I'm just enjoying the sights.
Yeah.
Before-
enjoy the sights.
No, never mind. During the journey, then I'll just have Nod do the circling around thing, or like the flying a little higher to see if there's anything at all that we may miss.
Make a perception check for not.
Nada. That was a 7.
Okay. Nod just takes off into the air. You can feel the wind beneath her feathers as she also very much enjoys this flight, but doesn't say anything. You see Gunter a little bit off in the distance. You travel for about an hour and a half. Gunter, you are abruptly aware of the fact that the horizon seems to end closer and closer. You are rapidly approaching a steep fall off.
I'm gonna wow and get him to start slowing down.
Make an animal handling check.
I'm gonna guidance myself as I do that.
Sure. As this is happening, Heinrich, you're aware of the fact that from Nod's perspective, the sled that Sally, yourself, Morwen, Pine, and Shae are all in, these sleds are all kind of slowing, and you can see Gunter is like pulling away now quite rapidly.
That was a 27.
27. And even as I say that, there's this moment where that lead goes from like 300 feet to 350, 400 as you slow and he keeps the same pace. But Gunter, you pull hard on these reins, and these dogs who are well fed and quite eager to please pump on the brakes in a way that most of them have never done before. The back two dogs of your team, who are...
Does BD PD have a PD?
Program director?
A
T-Bone,
posterior deposit.
T-Bone and Hellcrow, who are the two back dogs. both of whom are huskies, just these sort of mottled gray and white, are struck by your sled as it kind of bumps them from behind. Not hard, it's enough for one of them to yelp, and another one to kind of the ears go down and it growls for a second before kind of rolling off. They don't take any damage, but you just kind of bump them. You feel pretty good about that stop. It's weird. The dog team is like curved all the way around to the right. And as you kind of look over, you can see it's because 2 feet in front of you, this ice ends and just seems to drop 65 degrees down into a long, sloping ice field. You see beneath you, there is a field of ice. It's thick enough that you can't see beneath it. It's not blue. This is white. The sun reflecting off of it seems to have melted the snow, but the ice itself has just formed thicker and thicker over the years. I would say, given your previous perception check, you take a lot of this in. You can see this drop goes down, and then in the field of ice there are various, like, almost stalagmites that stick up out, but some of them like 15 feet tall, jagged shards. You remember taking a nap atop a series of very similar ones at one point. You would imagine, given what Sally had said previously, you as a group are probably each going to get your dogs aboard the sled. You look at the sled, it's going to be a tight fit, and you think about Dentures, the miniature horse. That's going to be a really rough sled ride for whoever is riding on that sled, which is Shae, I believe. You would imagine as a group you will gather a lot of speed going down this hill, and you can imagine with enough momentum you might be able to clear the entire field to the snow on the other side. And looking at this, it's not so much a field. This is a frozen part of a much larger river, so wide that it seems to be almost a lake in and of itself, but you see areas where it continues and you lose it in the mountains and in the trees.
So you're saying, like, it's basically a giant slalom? Or,
yes, very much.
Like a giant, ski slope?
Yes, very much like that. And then it goes down to a long, flat, frozen river that you are supposedly going to just streak across.
Okay. Perfect.
So you stop.
I'm going to start getting the dogs ready and give extra care to the 2 in the back who got bumped. Give them each piece of jerky to chew on.
At first, you can see T-Bone, the smaller of the 2, just kind of shies down a little bit. But as you bring out the jerky, the ears pop up, and instantly your best friend again. No problem.
All right. Good job on the second leg. Now this is where it really counts, all right, everyone?
And in the background, you can see now the blurred approaching shapes of the other sleds. The rest of you come up to where Gunter is. You can see all the dogs now seated in this long wooden sled with the Gunter in the very back. Sally comes to a stop, looks at you. Oh, hi, Gunter.
You're losing your step, Pine.
Pine looks from the other side. You can see he's looking down at your sled, Gunter.
That's 1-to-1.
Oh, okay. But I thought the race was to Mount Yishi.
We got legs of the race. We're going on by legs.
Okay.
But the final leg will be the most important, so that's why this is where it really counts.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, this one's pretty scary, Gunter.
Sally is now like turning to the other 2. So for you, get your dogs loaded aboard your sleds, much like your friend Gunter has, and then we're just I'm going to give you a push off the side of the cliff, and you're just going to skate right through. It's pretty easy. If you can lean, you can kind of turn, but try to get a good shot off the beginning so you don't have to.
Be like, all right, we ready? 3, 2.
Oh, I wasn't quite ready yet, so just a moment. Oh, and are you just gonna try to like lean your way forward?
No, I'm gonna try to push off while using enhance ability to give myself Cat's Grace. I think is the one that I want to use. The one that gives me good dexterities.
So Gunter,
Yeah.
you cast this ability as you lurch forwards, and the whole sled for a moment
I'm
slowly
gonna
tips.
kick off.
You're brought back to that moment aboard the Iron Hawk as you slowly felt the momentum shift, and then suddenly you're off and away. Go ahead and make you're flying down this ice, this steep incline. The dogs are all very quiet. You sense a tension in them. But you approach, you fly down the side of this mountain before suddenly it evens out. I need you to make a dexterity saving throw. As you hit this curve, there's a jolt.
Enhance ability.
Absolutely, yeah.
Nice. That's a 16.
You feel your small body leave the sled for a moment, but you hang on, thump back down, and you are flying across the ice. What are the rest of you guys doing?
I'm loading up the
I'm
team.
getting ready for.
I'm like-
doing it too.
Just
Okay.
letting Gunter be
Those
Gunter 'cause I
aerodynamics.
can't stand him anymore
So-
after having sabotaged Morwen's sled.
Once
and
we
all
get
that shit.
once we get to the point where you guys make that roll, it's going to be an advantage because you're taking time to let Sally help you and get set up.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that in a second, but because Gunter is going quite quickly, Gunter, you're going across the ice. You are careening at breakneck speed. The snow coming off of the front of your sled, stinging your eyes, your hair, the glorious singed and now patchy platinum beard and hair streaking behind you in the wind. The dogs are very tense. It's weird. You would imagine this would be exhilarating for them, but they are very, very tense. They seem alert. As you fly through this ice field, go ahead and make a D6 roll for me.
Okay. That is a 2.
Okay. Gunter, you are flying across this ice. Zzz, you hear it beneath you, and suddenly, from over this white horizon, you can see this huge column of ice appears. You are streaking directly towards it at a very, very quick speed. What are you going to do?
I'm going to try to turn out of the way.
Go to make a dexterity saving throw for me, please.
Natural 20!
Okay. I will let you know, this was not an easy save. And there were some rough consequences, but as you lurch to the side, you can feel that cat's grace put a little bit more of a spring in your ancient body, and the sled itself leaves one rung. You can hear one of the dogs kind of whimper, and you bump off of the ice. You are jolted slightly, but the sled continues going beyond it.
Whoa!
Not bad. You coast through. You slow down. Gunter, make a perception check because you feel the ice going beneath. It's going from a zzz. You can now hear it slowing. You
Wipe the non-existent frosty sweat from my forehead and silence.
Sure.
Was perception?
Mm-hmm.
That is a 27. No,
Okay.
sorry, 17.
Sure, 17. That makes more sense. A little bit of a difference there. You hear that sound, and you are in snow again. You stop. Some of the dogs get out. You can see two of them immediately begin kind of pulling the sled, and with the rest of the dogs, they're like pulling it away from the ice. You turn back and you look, but all you see is a successful trip.
I'm gonna be like, all right, I like this attitude. Yeah.
And the dogs begin to take off. You have to kind of like run and jump onto the sled, but they continue, and you don't really know where you're going. You're just headed northeast. For the rest of you, one by one, Sally gets behind you. I'm going to say probably starting with you, Shae. Oh, hi, Shae. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Have a good time now. And she pushes you. Go ahead. You straight down this hillside. Go ahead and for me make a dexterity saving throw as you come to the bottom and abruptly level out.
That is 21.
21. Easy for you. You hold on, but the lightness of your natural form, it doesn't seem to have the same impact. You can feel the dogs, and actually, all very quiet, all very tense, save this miniature horse who you just managed to cram into the front. This thing is loving it. You can hear it just neighing wildly as it goes. It's a little bit of like a gray kind of fringe that usually sits above its eyes, now full back above its head. You see like wildly happy horse eyes. But you streak down, you hit the ice, flatten out, across the ice. Roll a d6 for me.
4.
4. Gunter, as you are going, you look behind you, and you can see, as you're pulling away from the ice, easily sliding through, much quicker than you see Shae. She doesn't hit the ice flow, she doesn't slow down at all, and you see that transition goes from zzz, and the dogs, 2 of them kind of bark happily. You hear this horse, too, even from where you are pulling away, you can hear the horse just loudly neighing. It seems very happy. But Shae, you can take a second, kind of get your dogs back off the sled, and you begin setting things up.
I'm going to wait for the rest of the group.
Okay. Morwen, you and Pine kind of get to the edge. You can see Sally approaching Heinrich's sled, but Pine turns to you. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. And he pushes his weight forwards, and the 2 of you tip and go down. As you are riding with Pine and not steering, you do not need to make a dexterity saving throw. He is going to make it. He's going to make it just fine.
No work.
You level out. The dogs all kind of with that, and you skid out across the ice. Roll a d6 for me, Warren.
5.
For you, zzz, across the ice, and you can see Pine, who turns to you, and he just kind of says, "Hold on." And suddenly, different than the one that you saw, Gunter that saw, this bit of ice looms forwards, but you can see there's an element that is broken and fallen down to create almost like a ramp. And Gunter, from 200 feet ahead, you are pulling away from this lake. You turn back to see Shae just kind of waiting, and then all of a sudden in the air, about 10 feet up, you see the sled that Morwen is on. You see 8 dogs. You see Pine's head. Just off, and Shae 15 feet beyond you before they come to a stop.
And I'm going to start hustling Pine and be like, all right, let's get
okay.
going.
And
You know where
guys
to go?
begin to
Let's
set
go.
this up. You can see Pine just gives you a wave. Shae is all of a sudden, and they are just going. Heinrich, Sally comes up to you very apprehensively. Heinrich. You could always go around. It does add another 6 hours onto this journey, but if you wish, it might be a safer opportunity for you.
Nah.
Well, please try not to get my dogs killed. Good luck. And she pushes you. You go down. Go ahead and make a dexterity saving throw as you even out.
15.
15. You hear all the little scales on your armor. But you take off on the ice. Roll a d6 for me.
A 4.
Okay. Similarly, you go through, you see columns of ice pass you. You see elements where snow kind of slopes down at strange angles, where the ice perhaps has been broken previously, but no problem. You come across the other side.
I'll turn back around and, with minor illusion, make a giant thumbs up above my thumb.
Ignites in the air, teal, this thumb. Very similar, tiefling-looking skin, a little bit of a longer nail, holds up, and from beyond you can see Sally now just down the side, and you lures her into the ice, but a minute goes by and you see her approach, and she pulls up, easy as can be.
Cool.
Oh, Heinrich, good. Oh, and the rest of you, of course. Well, we should get going to catch up to Gunter and to Morwen, it would seem.
Yes, let's go.
Not like Pine. Okay, let's go. And she begins to kind of get everything ready. Gunter, you are pretty well ahead of the rest of the group. And as you continue to progress, suddenly the woods now seem to, instead of growing sparser, get a little bit more. And you begin to recognize elements of these as spruce and fir. Um, you are drawing closer to Mount Yishi. You can see now in front of you larger mountains, the mountains that make up this huge range, of which Mount Yishi is the middle. You're no more than 2 hours away.
Alright, I'm gonna slow up just a little bit to give the dogs a bit of a rest as we come into the woods, so that then they can kind of get their bearing, finding the path through the trees that are now getting denser. And then I'm gonna get them ready for the final stretch.
Okay, how are you getting them ready for the final stretch?
By like resting them up now and letting them take a little bit of a break on the way through the beginning of the forest.
Slow the pace slightly. As the trees grow thicker, you allow some more time to not tax the dogs so much on this part. Morwen.
Yeah.
Pine leans heavily into these dogs, and they take off running. Unlike the other dogs, which you can see at the end of the day, these things are like panting and tired. You don't see like tongues lolling behind these animals. These are well trained. And you begin to see areas where the snow is more freshly like torn up. And Gunter, you begin to hear sounds of sleds catching up to you. You look behind you. You've been traveling through the woods for maybe 5 minutes now at a little bit of a slower pace. And you hear Morwen and Pine. They're approaching.
How far away are they?
You can't really tell. I would say best guess somewhere between like 100 and 150 feet away.
All right. When they get within like roughly 50 feet of me, I'm gonna full throttle to the finish line.
Okay. You guys progress. Heinrich, Shae, you guys, and Sally take a pretty steady approach. And so, is there anything that you wish to do over the course of your journey? Your journey in total will take maybe 4 hours to get to the base of this mountain.
No, just keep Nod happy, flying around, looking out for anything.
Okay. Just takes off. Make a perception check for Nod.
Okay, 16.
The 16.
Yeah, 16.
Nod takes off in this bright air. It's beginning to get towards noon, so the sun is high in the sky. Clouds have broken apart here and there, and so still elements of gray, but largely easy to navigate. Within Nod's mind, you kind of look up, and for just a moment, you feel a shadow pass above Nod. And then it's gone.
Nope. No bueno. Okay. Noted. I'll message that to Shae to be like, watch the skies.
Noted.
Nod saw something.
Shae, make a perception check.
Actually, with that too, I'm gonna pull Nod back.
So back and return.
Is 28.
You scan the sky. What are you looking for?
Anything large and out of place?
Okay. You don't see anything large, but briefly, you look up to the north and you can see disappearing further away now, but back into that large bank of clouds that shrouds the city of Yorn, this cloud giant city. You see something disappear. Small, not large. Dark brown feathers.
Okay. I'm gonna like. Did you get a sense from Nod how big this thing was?
Not
Roughly
really.
humanoid size, you would guess, yeah.
Passing shadow, humanoid.
Likely one of the ninth path.
Fucking great. Ugh, at least we're heading into trees, so it can't see us, although they could probably track us anyways. We're not being too stealthy.
We're not being stealthy, we're out on the ice. Likely we've been seen and they know which way we're moving.
Oh, good thing we got rest.
You guys continue. Gunter, suddenly you can hear and you feel and sense, and you look behind you could see suddenly Morwen and Pine now gaining on you. They close within 50 feet. Make an animal handling check if you're trying to kick them into, I don't remember what you said, but top gear.
Full throttle. Full throttle.
Yeah. When you throttle a dog, it's different than a vehicle, just to be clear.
That's a dirty 20. Actually, 25.
25.
Yeah.
You lash out and you yell out this encouragement to your dogs. You have been feeding pretty well and resting up. They jolt forwards. Given the movement speeds, you feel yourself accelerate, but they're still gaining. Slowly, perhaps 5 feet at a time, they're gaining on you. But you are now streaking through the trees. Here and there they clear. You'll go through a path where it's just snow. And you're in a clearing and you look behind and you can see Pine and Morwen. And you can now see just like elements of the red jacket peeking out from beneath the winter fur or the winter clothing. They're getting closer.
So I have the water on my sled, correct? Is it stored in front of me?
It's sort of behind you in casks.
Behind me in casks? Is there a way that I could start basically like an oil slick of water from where
How would you like to do that? You tell me.
With control water.
Okay.
But is there like a bunghole in the cask?
Yeah,
Okay.
It's coming up again. Yes, there is a bunghole in this cask.
All right, so I'm gonna
Standard bunghole.
pop the bunghole, control water to make like an oil slick with the water flowing backwards against their progression to slow them down.
Okay. Go ahead and make a. I'm gonna say make a. So this is imagine. This is a concentration check. There's a DC to this. This is a Constitution check.
Okay.
Because we're seeing you're trying to actively control water while steering a dog sled.
Yeah.
Something's going to happen, but this is sort of the effectiveness of the whole thing.
Okay. So you said a Constitution check?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a
What was that?
Constitution saving throw, technically.
Oh, Constitution saving throw? Okay. That is 16.
Okay. No problem. You were able to. So you're holding on to this single strip of leather that attaches 8 dogs together. With one arm, you hold that, and with the other, you gesture the components that you need to control water. And suddenly, you hear this, and there is this stream of water that flows out. Very Mario Kart like this oil slick that just appears, instantly freezes in the cold.
Nice.
Morwen, you're 50 feet. Okay. Morwen, you aboard this see Pine look down all of a sudden, and he just goes, huh. And I need you to make a dexterity saving throw as you.
Dirty 20.
Curses!
This sled
That's my thing.
sideways and just begins to pinwheel. The dogs are whipped off and around. I'm going to say. More when you watch as the sled itself, one of the skids runs over the legs of one of the dogs.
Ooh, I didn't want to do
Hear a
that.
sharp yelp as
This is your kick the dog moment where you become an evil character.
No.
you
I'm
hear
evil.
Yes.
Felonious.
If it wasn't clear before.
This kind of patchy gray. It's a Chinook, a much larger, kind of less fluffy dog. The gray is just smeared with red as it's a pretty deep gash in the leg. Morwen, you are thrown. Pine is thrown. You land on your feet, no problem. You can feel yourself correcting in the air. Pine into a deep snowdrift. weakly, you can see just like a thumbs up appear in a sort of similar one to what Heinrich had created previously. It's shaking and somewhat weak. Gunter, what are you doing? You see this? It's essentially an accident occur.
Ooh. I'm gonna be like, oh, walk it off! I'm gonna healing word the dog.
Okay.
Range,
What is the range on healing word?
Yeah.
I believe it's 60 feet.
You are out of range.
Oh,
You're gonna yell
no.
walk it off to a dog who has a broken leg.
Healing word
You caused.
is healing word a cantrip?
I believe
it's first level.
First level spell.
Yeah,
so
I
you
think
can
it's
mark off
level
that
one.
spell slot, but it doesn't take
Okay,
because you are
let
out
me
of
just-
range.
Check.
Well, I'm at least gonna
Range.
run over.
Yeah, it's
and,
60 feet. Okay.
Just for everyone else who's coming, just like make myself visible so they know that.
So as you guys are approaching, you see
Chill
Morwen just
out.
waving this floofy winter gear-clad tabaxi.
Wait, we see that now?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally stopping. Totally
Stopping.
stopping. It looks like a
See
horrible accident.
Pine
Yeah.
pulling himself out. You can see there's a few dogs. One's like under the sled. You can see another one is very confused looking and barking at its own arm. There's fur missing, but the skin, you can see it looks kind of healed, but it's really just that the blood is frozen. But you can see it
I'm
just
gonna go around and start like
I'm gonna go get
veterinarying
this
all of them.
Blood off of the one that's pinned.
Okay, you pull the sled and this dog comes up. It licks you once in the face, Shae. You go around. Go ahead and make a medicine check.
Oh no, I'm just gonna outright use my healing
Oh,
light.
okay.
Yeah.
So you go around and you burst healing into these dogs.
Yeah,
You
I'm just
little,
like little
little
tens of this
bruises, kind
wound,
of just
tens of that
heal,
wound.
little patches of fur that are kind of disrupted or smoothed over. You can see this one dog that is limping a little bit, and you come up to it, and it just kind of looks, the ears down, the eyes big and glassy, and you flood healing into this arm. Suddenly, the skin pink and new underneath. It seems to almost test it gingerly, and for a couple steps, it still walks with a limp, not really comprehending that it's healed. Before it seems to almost naturally just straighten out and begin just going about its normal business.
Cool.
But yeah, you feel that dog.
Okay. Can I heal all of them that got hurt?
That's the only one that sustained any damage. But yeah,
Okay.
for anyone that is like little bruises and bumps, you go through and you heal them. No problem.
Cool. Morwen, what happened? Pine.
I don't
Where's
really
Pine?
know. Pine over there. I was pointing at him
Oh, I'll go
because I
ahead.
saw him like thumbs up, didn't I?
You see Pine is like limping his way over now.
I'll
Ugh.
go and help him up too, out of the, or I guess help him over.
Okay, yeah, you.
Pine, what happened? Morwen said she didn't know what. Did you?
There was
hit
ice.
something?
Yeah, it was a very strange ice. It was thin, like it was just formed.
What the hell?
We should be careful. There are bandits in the area, and they've been known to try to trap people in this manner.
Where's Gunter?
Well, hopefully
He
He
they
does
just
seem to
went
have kept
out.
going.
Yeah, I think he.
We should hurry and catch up. What if they got him?
Yeah.
I think you guys should go ahead and we'll take it a little slow and steady for now
I think
on.
we can all take it as slow and steady as we need to just to get there safely. This racing idea, among other things, not the brightest. I'll just say that.
You see Sally just go, what race?
Nothing?
The race that Morwen and Gunter were having to get to the end.
No?
Pine? And you can see Pine just shrink down a little bit. Typical of you.
Look, I know that Morwen's quite the charming tabaxi, so
I
I
am.
don't blame him, but still.
Way to
Not-
rat him
Turns to
out.
Pine.
Ooh.
We're going to talk about this a different time, Pine.
Oh,
This isn't the
man.
first time. You can see Pine just go, well, we need the money. And he produces 5 gold coins.
She already paid
Sally
you?
looks at them.
Yeah, we won last night.
Sorry.
Dude.
Sally looks at them and takes the gold. Ah, Pine, I know you mean well, but we need to be careful. This will be helpful for us, but not if we're all dead. And Pine just kind of nods, just bashful.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna pat Pine on the back. Like, I'm sorry I got you out of this mess and just give him another 2 gold.
You
There's
hold up
money
the
to
gold.
make
Sally takes it out of your hand. Thank you, Morwen. You've done quite enough.
I try to give him one more. No, I don't.
Heinrich, would you mind switching places with Morwen?
Sure.
I've never needed to put somebody more responsible with Pine, but there is a first time for everything.
Alright, sure. Whatever gets us there safely, really, that's the only thing that I care about.
Exactly. And she begins to walk back to her sled. Oh, hi, Shae.
But I don't know how to do this, you know.
You can see Sally stop and turn around. Okay, so the basics are, and go ahead and make an animal handling check. And you can make it at disadvantage.
I was gonna say, hold on. I might want to interrupt this too. Why not I just take Morwen? I wouldn't be any good on the sled. Morwen hasn't even had any experience on it at all. Why not just have me bring Morwen? And
so you watch as she tries to get Morwen into this lesson. Immediately, the dogs are way more interested in Morwen. They begin sniffing at her. A few begin to lick her.
Start playing with the
one
dogs.
that kind of growls. You're now wrestling with the dog on the ground. Sally just looks at you and says, "Okay." I'm concerned about, well, we're past the most dangerous part, I suppose, but who knows? Please keep her on sled and away from trouble. Away from Pine.
Possible, but I'll have a little bit better of a time at doing it than Pine did, I think.
I don't doubt that. Pine! And you can see Pine just kind of flinch. Get your sled ready! And he just nods and begins to, just full of shame, slowly attend to this task. Gunter, you well ahead now of the rest of the group. The rest of this trip, from that point, is about an hour and a half. Gunter, you're going to reach...
Entire time.
Sure. Gunter, you're going to reach it about half an hour early.
Nice.
You come through the woods and suddenly it's a little bit colder because you stand in the shadow of Mount Yishi in front of you. You can see the beginning sort of crumbles of stone that have fallen down and frosted over, but quickly it becomes a very sharp rise. You can see elements of old trees frozen for years still clinging to the side of the mountain at strange angles. Gunter, you make a perception check as you reach this point.
Guidance.
Sure.
That's a 15.
Okay. You look up. It's a little bit cloudy up, and you lose the mountain to the clouds, but as far as you can tell, there are no wyverns. It seems relatively safe.
That's good. No wyverns today. I'm gonna, is there anything, like, in front of me at the base that looks like a good, like, end of trail marker of any kind?
With your perception check, sure. There's like it's like a flat piece of stone that rises up. At one point, you would imagine there was like another piece that crumbled away and fell flat, and it's probably beneath the snow. But it's like a flat piece of stone that then rises and becomes part of the mountain. You could like put a sign up on there. I mean, it faces the woods.
That is what I have distinguished as the finish line, and I am heading there on the home stretch. And I'm gonna ease up a bit, knowing that like there's no one behind me, in case I need to make.
It's like 100 feet away, so
Yeah.
you easily, get the dogs along, can walk along, no problem. You reach the finish line.
All
You
right,
finish the journey a good half an hour before anybody else.
I'm gonna start unhitching the dogs to like give them a congratulatory feast of old dirty rations and beef jerky.
Okay. You begin to do that. You do that.
Yeah, whatever else I have disgustingly on my person still.
You can see at this point there are dogs kind of like just drifting around. You've undone them from their harnesses just to give them like a break.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, like not to let them go run free, but to
I mean they all stick relatively close to you.
Yeah.
But they begin to mill through. You hear the sort of I don't know. It's like a almost like an argument between the dogs. Some mild growling and barking, and you look over. They're like fighting over something in the snow. But what are you doing while you wait for your friends?
I guess I'm gonna go see what they're fighting over now that this seems to have piqued my interest.
You walk over, crunching through the snow.
What do you got there, boys?
And as you approach, one of them kind of just ducks down and kind of walks away, tail between the leg. This other one seems to have won this
Pat
argument.
him on his haunch.
Stands up proudly. You can see the chest puffed out, all four legs planted in the snow. And in the mouth, it holds a hand. Human. You can see the small bracelet around the edges of frayed skin. But it's almost like prayer beads. You've seen them on the Zinni before. In fact, you have a set that it's part of your Zinni costume.
I'm gonna start digging where they pulled up. Do I see like where the hand came up from?
Yeah, you can see this
like a hole or something.
Impact within the snow. Yeah, it's probably about 3 feet in. And you begin to look around. You see others like this. You can see here and there things have fallen from above.
Oh, jeez. Ah, boy. I'm gonna like look around in the vast nothingness of this snowy tundra, I suppose, and start like going over to all these holes to see like, are these just a bunch of like bodies that have been tossed off the side of the mountain?
You begin to peek through. There are elements of broken brick and shattered pottery that you can find here and there. You see edges of the pottery a little bit burnt. But as you're looking through, you hear behind you this kind of woof, the same dog again. And you look back, and there's another woof, and one more. Woof, and you look now behind you because they seem to be almost barking at you. But as you turn, perched up on the side of the mountain, 50 feet away from you, wings back, you can see dark wings. These are not like Crotics. These are much inkier. Very thin, this particular Aarakocra. This is not Crick. This is a different member of the Ninth Path. You can see on the side of the beak, large injury that seems to be healing now. In one hand, you can see a spear that has elements of blood still kind of frozen on the tip of it. This is a magnetic spear, although you see no spear. Can't say. Magnetic spear, although you do not see housing for it. But this Aarakocra lowers its head, and it seems to have, now that you've spent time with Crotic, almost a little bit of a smile, but the eyes bore into you.
I'm gonna squint and I'm gonna get into like a ready to attack, but like not giving off that I'm tensing up kind of posture. Like, I know he's there, but I ain't scared.
And you see
I'm just gonna squint at him.
Suddenly, the wings